Welcome to the world of Anime Babes MMORPG Online Free-to-Play, where you can customize your very own attractive female. Pick from a wide range of fantastic classes. Female Warrior, Female Mage, Female Elf, Female Archer, and Guy. In our character creation menu, pick from our large free-to-play closet of one outfit. You can walk around like a peasant and feel like a peasant while the rest of the community laughs at how poor you are. But if you get your parents' credit card or steal it, you can purchase in-game tokens. $50 gets you 50,000 tokens. Big numbers are better, right? You can get like 2 outfits. That's awesome!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the show that's been hired to be the latest Robins, and a sexual harassment suit is pending. I am Jeremy.
Steve. Jesse.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher. You can follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send me any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. At the beginning of the show, you heard a clip from a little skit from Jaltoid Games called Free to Play. It's a few jokes about the annoying free-to-play models that often seem to come out of China and Korea. At the beginning of the show, you also heard music by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on iTunes and on Amazon.com. Man, it's been a strange group of days. I was just catching up to Kill la Kill last night.
Oh, okay.
I saw the latest episode, and, somebody asked me for a reference on anime, and I mentioned that one, and they just said, so how would you describe it? That's where it failed me. It's kind of hard to describe, and as I did my best, and I could tell by the look on his face, he just wasn't understanding what I was saying. I kept rolling over where I went wrong in my description. Then it occurs to me that to describe it really sounds like you're sitting around with a bunch of weed and trying to talk about Sailor Moon ideas. Okay, man, this is totally cool. First of all, when she transforms, she still gets naked, right? But it's not going to be like any kind of bird, or it's not a fish, or she's not going to stand in front of the moon and, punish you or shit. No, what she's going to do is, stick her blood into her clothes, right? Then she's going to get butt-ass naked. And then this giant monster comes up behind her, it's made out of fire, and it has only one eye. Then it eats her, right? And then the monster turns into her clothes, and then you get underboob and a shot of pull-up panties and fucking more underboob, man. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah. Anime transformation sequences are probably the dirtiest thing I've ever actually witnessed, with no really bad intentions, usually.
I know, but the problem is that the description I just gave you, unfortunately, is highly detailed as to what the hell the show's about.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
As demented as that sounds, that's pretty much where half the show goes.
Hey, they use the same people that Fluidly and freaking Gurren Lagann, if I remember correctly, so...
Well, you forgot one.
Oh, which other one did I forget?
Magical Shopping Arcade Abenobashi.
Oh, God, yes. There was some good crack. So, yeah, I'm not at all surprised. If you've seen any of their previous works, you're kind of just going, yep, roll with the punches.
Yeah. While we had a shift in schedule, and V, unfortunately, she has overtime to do, she's not available, I was kind of messing around online, as I do, and I found one of those fun things on dorkly.com. Somebody decided to retell Batman Begins through Bruce Wayne's texts. The very first one is him talking to his father, Thomas. Dad, fell down a hole again. Why did we fall, Bruce? Because our stupid butler didn't board up the bat holes good enough? No, so we can learn to pick ourselves up. Wrong, we're rich as shit. Let's hire someone to pick us up. A.K.A. Alfred, our eternally 70-year-old butler. You know, and then there's another one where he's talking to Rachel. Operas are boring. I'm just gonna tell Dad I'm scared. Oh, how about you maybe just watch the opera? Hell yeah, we're ditching early. Going down Crime Alley, gonna get some Pinkberry at Felony Cul-de-sac. Oh, dang. Oh, dang! They got shot! Oh my god, Bruce, call 911. I can't believe this. How am I gonna get Pinkberry now? You know, there's probably about 20 of those, honestly. You know, later on there's one here for Alfred. But Dad, check this out. I'm going to be cool as shit. A hero that looks like a devil. I'm also going to pimp out this gross cave and keep all my stuff here. Wouldn't it be more personally appropriate for you to become Batman as a way of reappropriating your fear of bats? Alfred, I already made the costumes. See these pointy horns? I'm Devil Man. If I was a bat, I'd be flapping around pooping everywhere. Which, actually, yeah, I'll be Batman. Read it pretty hard all over your bed.
Jeez.
So, yeah, there was a lot of silent laughter coming out of my area. You know,
Yeah.
Between that and playing the first campaign segment of Titanfall, I've been hard to deal with. You know, I'm just starting to unlock some interesting stuff so that I'm not underpowered as all fuck. I'm really frustrated by some games where you unlock better weapons the further you get into it, because that means the first few people are always going to get their heads hammered in.
Yeah. Especially once you really join the game late and you're kind of like really sucking it up.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first 3 loadouts, you get like a smart pistol, you know, bullets that can track people, you get a machine gun or a shotgun, which all sounds well and good. But the first couple of games I played, I'm like, where the fuck do you get submachine guns? Where the fuck do you get sniper's rifles? Was that an EMP grenade? You know, why can't I move? Who just punched me in the back of the head for the 3rd time? Stuff like that. So it's a great game and everything. It is really hard to start out when everybody else has like 20 better weapons than you. So, but instead of me ranting, we'll go ahead and start up, because this week we decided to read the first 5 issues of Excalibur, an X-Men spin-off from the
80s.
Yeah, fuck. Getting old. But before that, we have our usual in the Kickstarter corner. The first one we have is one we've been following for a while and ended. Cat Town Cafe. Oh, wait. Didn't we discuss this last week? That ended last week, didn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
It was just ending. Our last recording date was ending later that night. So this is still technically relevant. The Catman of West Oakland was trying to make the very first U.S. cat cafe, which is what it sounds like. You bring your laptop, sit down like it's a Starbucks, except you're surrounded by I was going to say pussy of the non-sexual variety, but some people are kind of weird. So we'll go with cats. Unfortunately, he didn't meet his goal. Even though he had about a month and a half to go through, it ended at midnight on March 8th. The goal for this building was $60,000. His final tally was $40,695.
That's actually pretty impressive.
For the project it's mentioning, yeah. I can understand why it'd be hard to get people involved, though. I'm sure there's some people who just say, why would I want to work surrounded by cats? You know, but apparently it's a group of people who said, why wouldn't I want to work surrounded by cats?
Yep.
So, hopefully he'll try again, but that brings up the second project we have, because Carlos Wong of Los Angeles wants to make a cat cafe. He has a Kickstarter. He does have an idea for a building in Los Angeles he'd like to use. His Kickstarter has until March 31st. He has 14 days to go, 335 backers. The goal is $350,000. Currently has $9,127. Start is slow.
Yeah. He still has some more time, though, but yeah.
That's not even 1% of his goal. No, I'm sorry, that's 3% of his goal is what he's basically achieved. It's kind of interesting that he doesn't appear to have advertised near as well as the Catman of West Oakland.
Well, I would say that would be part of his problem.
Probably. So he needs to step it up if he wants to get this working. Or he has to have a really monster sugar daddy. Something we've been following for a few weeks now is Super Mario Brothers stop-motion pixel art. Guy Depesmer of Montreal, Canada. See, Stacy, I told you I could pronounce this shit. He is making pixel arts via beads of the first few stages of the Super Mario Brothers game, the very first one from 1983.
Old as shit.
Yes, I am. Fuck you. But his Kickstarter actually ends on March 21st. He has 4 days to go. 65 backers. A goal of $300. He currently sits at $1,163 Canadian.
Awesome.
So no matter when this ends, he's going to do something. It's just a matter of what he's going to do. Because he has stretch goals at $1,000, I believe $1,500, and $2,000 for stages 1, 2, 1, 3, and 1, 4 of the game. So this man's going to do it. If you actually pledge $200, you get the ending scene pack. You get all the sprites from Stage 1-4, the first Bowser encounter. You'll get one Bowser, one Mario, the axe, everything from the last scene, not including the background. You can send the screenshot of your choice from level 1-4, and all the assets will be sent to recreate it. It has to be a screenshot from the actual game, no bootlegs. Your name or gamer tag will be added to the credits as Bowser's buddy. If the project doesn't get over $2,000 at the end, you'll still get that reward. Is it worth paying $200 just to be called Bowser's buddy?
I don't know. Depends on if you have $200 that you can just be like, oh, yep, that's for me.
I guess how loose your butthole is. I don't want to be that kind of buddy, but, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Another project we've been following is Galactic Princess by Cecily of Paris, France. It's an 8-bit style game that seems to be loosely based on the Star Wars franchise. I believe it's supposed to be a PC or Steam game. But it ended on... it ended 5 hours ago. Literally ended 5 hours ago. So it ended at noon today on March 16th. Had 2,108 backers. The goal was £20,000, UK. The final tally was 34,180 pounds. So I'm not really clear on what the stretch goals were for this game, but she had to have hit at least one. She even has profiles on some of the NPCs you run into. She calls it biodiversity, which is kind of a funny term now that I've said that. Here we go. Stretch goals. You see. She's hit stretch goals of Module Madness, the more module shapes to customize your spaceship, and extra gameplay, additional gameplay mechanics, mining system, and extra game polish. Yeah, it's not clear to me what system this is going to be on. Because some people would really enjoy the retro style of the game. I think others would be a little put off. But hey, she's making it. Power to her. Something else we found interesting is Hi-Fi Color for Comics by Brian Miller of Surprise, Arizona. I still find it funny that the surprise is you're in Arizona. Surprise! Get out of Arizona! Let's see. This one is... It is a book or a digital book, depending on which version you back it at, on how to color comics digitally in the modern age. It's actually step-by-step instruction. It tells you the tools and techniques you'll need. It tells you the difference between flat color, render color, color holds, and special effects. This actually seems like a very in-depth book for somebody that does, as far as I know, doesn't have a serious name in comics. But it's very cool, in my opinion, at least. Mm-hmm. It has 17 days to go and ends on Wednesday, April 2nd. 418 backers. The goal is $14,900. They currently sit at $15,713.
Wow.
Halfway through the Kickstarter, but the book is solidified. And I'm strongly considering getting in at the $40 level. For that, you get the print and digital combo bundle, so you get the Comixology edition and the actual print edition. And it's going to be signed by the creator. Plus enrollment in the Hi-Fi Academy, which means when you start coloring, you send them a print. They'll give you some critique, and then they'll automatically follow up with you in, I believe, 6 months to see how you're progressing. It's not a bad deal.
No.
So that's on my radar for sure, because I am not serious in it, but I'm always interested in stuff like this for a hobby. It's arguably better that I sit down and do this and find other ways to spend money. I'm sorry, the follow-up's in 30 days. But that's at the $50 level. One of the $50 levels. Jeez, I'm getting so effed up. There's two different $50 levels. The one I'm talking about is Mentor. The library bundle, you get the signed edition, enrollment in the Academy, a Hi-Fi mini print, and print edition of Hi-Fi Color for Comics donated in your name to the U.S. library of your choice. You can actually be pragmatic with your money.
Hmm.
Another Kickstarter we found recently is Kid Heroes Productions present Black Tiger, Hunter Hunted. It's a movie with Robin Shou and Angela Fong, two names I'm actually aware of from martial arts films. It's supposed to be a 20-minute movie, and they want to finish it in time to premiere at WonderCon in April. They have 8 days to go. This Kickstarter ends on Monday, March 24th. Has 167 backers. The goal is $12,000. They currently have $8,138.
Wow.
This went from unlikely to 50-50, it seems like.
Yeah.
It's being done by Beyond Time of Duarte, California. They have a decent shot at doing this. It'll be interesting to see if they can get it done in time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and especially since I just found out I am going to WonderCon on the weekend of April 18th.
Ah.
So I'm going to have to find out. I may have to go see this. Actually, I may have to talk to you guys because my wife was asking if you two were going to be at WonderCon.
Where's that at?
Pretty.
Anaheim.
When?
The weekend of April 18th. We're not going the full weekend or anything crazy like that. We're just going Saturday, Sunday. You know, one night.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably not.
Okay. It was worth a question.
Yeah.
You know, we actually wouldn't have kids or anything. It would just be adults.
Gotcha.
Let me see. Next up, we have Earthlock, Festival of Magic for the Wii U, PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Mac. It is by Snowcastle Games of Oslo, Norway. An original turn-based role-playing game in a world of machines and magic in a world that stopped spinning thousands of years ago. It's a different concept, for sure.
Yeah.
And this game has been greenlit by the Steam community. It's part of the Steam Greenlight project.
Okay.
So it appears they have all the permissions they need to at least get started. They actually have 25 days to go. This is a Kickstarter going till Friday, April 11th. They have 2,018 backers. The goal is $150,000. They currently sit at $63,304. This is going to be a curiosity to see how it unfolds. But I believe for $50 you get on the game. At $30 you get a soundtrack. Digital download of the soundtrack, digital world map, and digital poster, and access to the pre-release of the game. Only when you choose Steam as your platform. At $45 you get the soundtrack, the digital downloadable Art of Earthlock book detailing the creation of the game world and an exclusive in-game weapon. At $50 is when you get the soundtrack. Oh no, you don't get the soundtrack. You get the art book, the digital comic, the vehicle skin, digital download of the Earthlock comic book, which gives you more insight into the backstory of the characters, exclusive vehicle skin for the overworld to travel around in style. Doesn't say when you actually get the game. Oh well. One thing that did end is Darkest Dungeon by Red Hook Studios. This was proposed by Tyler Sigmund of Bellingham, Washington. It is a gothic roguelike RPG about the psychological stresses of adventuring. That is something that's not told often in games, is that, you know, all these people that go through these massive mental and physical traumas, they always come out pretty good.
Yeah, usually.
You know, doesn't talk about the probable night terrors, about how these people probably couldn't sleep in a cabin with any sort of windows. You know, you can't retire quietly to the woods. You turn into that old hermit that suddenly starts shanking people as they walk by. But this ended back on... this ended 3 days ago, so that would be March 13th. Had 9,639 backers. The goal was $75,000. The final tally was $313,337. So, done deal.
Yep.
He had some interesting ideas like the affliction system. Heroes' personalities are paramount, contend with paranoia, abusiveness, fear, irrationality, and a host of gameplay meaningful quirks. It had a Crowquill art style, innovative turn-based combat against a host of monsters, a distinctive game world featuring over a dozen unique playable character classes such as Plague Doctor, Highwayman, and the Leper. This is effed up. It sounds cool, but it sounds really effed up.
Yeah.
Things that once seen can never be unseen. That's actually part of the tagline for the game. But congratulations to him. You know, that's Kickstarter success.
Yep.
Another Kickstarter we found is Pro Wrestling X. It's a game based on classic wrestling games. There's no named people in it. It's a bunch of original characters, and it is a classic gaming style wrestling. Think back to the days of like the Royal Rumble for Super Nintendo. It has 22 days to go and ends on Monday, April 7th, and being done by Wrestling Gamers United of Lethbridge, Canada. Has 339 backers. The goal is $6,400 Canadian to get this done. So, of course, they've raised $11,313 Canadian. And they still have quite a ways to go. You know, the only thing stopping me from even thinking about backing this game, because it's pretty cheap to get involved at just $15. You get a digital download of the game. I would need a customization ability. I would need the ability to build a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I would need to really get involved here. Something tells me, though, for a $15 game, you're probably not getting that. But they do have some ideas for not stretch goals, I'm sorry. They actually have ideas on some classic wrestling matches, including cell matches and scaffold matches. So you can do some dangerous stuff in here. Something Steve told us about last week is the Orion Project by David Prassel of Chicago, Illinois. It is a open-world interactive sci-fi gaming experience where you have robots, dinosaurs, and spaceships all in the same game.
Yep, I'm enjoying playing it.
Well, it has 42 days to go and ends on Monday, April 28th. Still over a full month away. It has 465 backers. The goal is $200,000. They currently have $19,956.
Yeah, it's not looking too good at the moment.
Well, not at the moment. There's still plenty of territory here, but how long has this been open? It doesn't say how long it's been going on already.
Honestly, I didn't see when it first started, so I'm not entirely sure. I think sometime this month, though.
Okay, because it has 10% of goal and still over a month to go.
Right.
So there's still a chance here, but they got to start drawing people to this. They really have to shove their noses in and make them pay attention. Something Brandon sent me was Pono Music. It's by the Pono team of San Francisco, California. Now, apparently the idea behind Pono Music is a new form of digital music player. A portable one, one you can stick earbuds into.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it's supposedly designed is that it adds a lot of the fidelity missing from current digital compression of music. So it adds a lot of the depth that's been lost in the transition from, from records to cassettes to CDs. That's the idea behind this. It's supposed to put all that back. This project has 29 days to go and ends on Tuesday, April 15th. Has 11,443 backers. The goal is $800,000. They currently sit at $3,841,683.
Wow.
Might have trouble with this one. Let me see. Where do you get the actual player at? Okay. If you pledge $200 or more, actually you would have to pledge more because for $200 they only had 100 slots and all the backers are gone. At that $200 slot was the first one where you get one of the Pono players. And that's a savings of 50%. The Pono player is apparently going to retail at about $400.
Wow.
They have over almost 4,000 people that have pledged $300 for more to get $100 off the player in a color of their choice. That's wow.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why this has been able to gather money so quickly compared to others, apparently this player has been seen and sampled on the Wall Street Journal, Mashable, NPR, Rolling Stone, CNET, Hollywood Reporter, The Verge, The New York Times, USA Today, Time Tech, Spin, Forbes, CNN Money, Billboard, Newsweek, The Guardian, Sterogum, Bloomberg Business, Hypebot, HuffPost Tech. So it's been featured on about 15 different tech sites.
Well, that worked out pretty well for the paper airplane engine. So
well, they're also offering limited edition signature series Pono players from artists such as the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Jackson Browne, Neil Young, Tom Petty, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Crosby, Stills Nash and Young, Foo Fighters, Willie Nelson, Metallica, Patti Smith, Arcade Fire, Beck, Dave Matthews Band, Herbie Hancock, Norah Jones, Lenny Kravitz, Pearl Jam, My Morning Jacket, James Taylor, and more. Damn, that's a lot of air.
Here's your inhaler.
I don't have one. That was my lungs turning inside out. Jeez, this is a pretty serious project, and they're still finding people to back. I wonder what this is going to look like by the end of it, frankly. It's going to make Mighty Number 9 look like kids play.
Yeah. Well, the music industry is still just a little bit bigger than the video game industry.
Not by much.
Hmm.
They're both going through contractions right now. The last Kickstarter I have is Planets Cubed by Cubicle Drift of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Now, Planets Cubed is an open 3D world voxel-based RPG. It's another one of these Stream Greenlight projects. And it's a universe made entirely of 25 cubic centimeter blocks, or voxels. Now, each planet represents thousands of billions of blocks. The blocks can be combined in various ways to build beautiful objects and landscape elements. It basically sounds like Minecraft with a little more thought put behind it.
Yeah.
Well, this project has 20 days to go. It ends on Saturday, April 5th, has 4,587 backers. The goal is $250,000. They currently sit at $127,813. Decent chance this is going to occur. And it sounds like these are pretty thought out, because you even have different temperature climates on the cubic planets that are built. You actually have Arctic, northern zones, temperate zones, tropic zones, equators, underworlds, and nucleuses to the worlds. This is going to be complicated. All I can see is a whole bunch of new gameplay videos coming out on YouTube. No, you disagree? I mean...
Kind of hard to say.
Okay, you guys are just fucking silent. I can't tell what the hell's going on. From there, we'll go into the video game news of the week, and it has been some interesting stuff that's occurred so far. First of all, the Ouya games are going multi-platform, starting with Mad Catz Mojo. Now, the Ouya is one of those streaming video game systems. They don't have any form of disc. Everything they get is digitally, and I don't know if it's a rental system or if you can formally buy it. But the fact that Ouya is going multi-platform is an interesting turn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now, gaming accessory and software company Mad Catz is poised to bring the Ouya's library of games to Android microconsole Mojo. So it's almost a partnership.
Hmm.
You know, the Ouya has over 680 games and 33,000 developers signed up. So to combine that with Mad Catz, who has a decent, I guess you could say, reputation in gaming, that could be a serious party. The Mojo is set to launch later this spring, and the console itself had its price cut from $250 to $200. So it could be in the midst of all the video game wars going on these days.
Yeah, definitely the most affordable choice at the moment.
Well, no, the Wii U's the same price. It's just the Wii U's no fun.
Well, yeah.
And potential details have surfaced regarding Mirror's Edge 2. It may have a multiplayer mode.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta find another expression besides groan, because for all I know, you're tickling yourself over there and you just haven't turned off your mic.
No, I am worried.
Oh, it actually sounds pretty interesting. To sum it up, as per ScrewAttack.com, the upcoming title will be a reboot of the 2008 title. It may feature a multiplayer drop-in and drop-out open-world city, which is online only, a new combat system. There was footage shown during the E3 reveal trailer that is in real time, and its expected release in the year of 2016. That's a good group of information. It'd be kind of interesting to play the game and have a bunch of free runners zigzagging across the world.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I understand that Titanfall does that to a degree, but there's something about the way Mirror's Edge plays that makes the running very smooth. Probably because the action of getting around buildings kind of superseded the combat system originally.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to have it single player, then that's great because you can focus all your processing power on just that one person, but it gets a little more crazy when you get multiple people involved.
Yeah, but that crazy can actually add a dimension to the game.
True, but just don't expect it to be so smooth.
Not true. How about this? League of Legends has a Pro League. And a match-fixing scandal caused a player to attempt suicide.
Wow.
Oh, I heard about suicide, but I didn't realize it was for League of Legends.
Yeah, now this is South Korea, where the game is like eminently huge. There's a pro gamer named Cheon Min-ki. He's a member of the AHQ esports team. Now, he revealed that he and his team were members of a scandal perpetrated by their manager, No Dae Chu. Okay? Cheon's manager allegedly lied about the sponsorship by AHQ, promising money and housing that never came through. And then he would threaten the team into throwing matches so he could profit from illegal gambling.
Wow.
So he revealed all this on the Korean forum Inven, excuse me. And then after that, he attempted suicide by jumping from a 12-story building. He survived somehow. Doesn't say specifically how, but he survived that. And Reddit notes that Cheon had personal issues that also may have led to the decision. So that's a serious turn of events.
Yeah.
You know, I've never found much interest in League of Legends, but I know from all the clamor about it online that it is a large phenomenon. You know, all I can say is if you have issues with something, suicide is never the answer. Not ever. All you're going to do is leave a bunch of sad people in your wake.
Just sad he got screwed over that way.
Yeah. Now, in happier news, there was a picture that was, I think it was tweeted not too long ago from an unknown party. But it was someone that was in, someone that apparently was in a building where they make Assassin's Creed, which would make it somewhere in Ubisoft's domain.
Mm-hmm.
But they tweeted a picture of this interesting new picture down at the end of a stairwell that's a little grainy due to the distance, but it's a picture of a character that nobody's been able to identify from Assassin's Creed.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously an assassin in a black jacket of some sort, and he appears to be holding some kind of gun in his hand. Some people are theorizing that this could be the assassin to the new game, which is rumored to take place in the turn of the Industrial Revolution London. Which would definitely put revolvers into play.
Yeah.
But, you know, for all we know, this was just some art concept that went nowhere. So for now, take all that with a grain of salt. But we'll, of course, get the picture, and we'll make sure we add it to the podcast so everyone can stare at it and go, you guys are full of shit. Wow, okay, that was a brain fart moment. Sorry. There is a fan version of Final Fantasy Type 0 that will have its translation, and it has a release date. Now, it is a fan translation of Final Fantasy 0, which I believe is a PSP and Vita game, that's supposed to be released August 8th here in the US by Fabula Nova Crystallis. Or, no, sorry. It's part of the Fabula Nova Crystallis saga. And it appears to have very little to do with Final Fantasy XIII as part of the game. It features a new setting, battle system, and characters released on the PSP in Japan back in 2011. Now, the team is Operation Doomtrain that's been working with Skyblade Cloud, okay, I did say that correctly, on the game, and it appears that work's going to pay off. Now, whether or not they get slammed down in a copyright problem, that's a whole other issue. It is an amazing amount of work to translate a game, though.
Yeah.
Especially for a bunch of guys who probably aren't being paid.
Well, and that's the important part. As long as you aren't being paid, it's kind of hard to say, sue anybody for anything. You're not really...
Well, it makes you...
All you're doing is doing something in your free time for free.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how they're releasing the game, though. If it's for the PSP Vita, then wouldn't they have... Well, I guess the Vita's in... It's a download-only system, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't looked at portable systems in forever.
I don't think it has any sort of input system for a disc or cartridge or anything. I'll have to think about that. There's also a bit of news regarding Titanfall, since not because I was mewing about it earlier, but simply because it hit the news. Respawn, the company that made it in conjunction with EA Games, now that they've apparently worked out some of the bugs of the system, they are turning their attention to cheaters. Respawn is intent on hunting down Titanfall cheaters, and I didn't even know this was a phenomenon. But apparently, when you manage to worm your way into your Xboxes or PC systems, you can use what's called an aimbot. You guys familiar with this?
No.
Yeah, it's for FPSs.
Yeah, it's an FPS cheat where when the reticle moves in the general direction of an enemy, it automatically starts to lock on their head.
Oh.
It's quick fire kill shots. Which makes me wonder what... Maybe I've run into a few of them, because there were some guys that were a little too good at picking me off with the first couple bullets. But, yeah, so they're apparently moving to take care of this, and cheaters, I believe, may find themselves instantly thrown out of the game.
Wow.
Good.
Well, this is kind of important on this one because there's a campaign mode, but it still involves multiplayer play to engage in the campaign mode. So if there's cheaters out there, there's no way to avoid them. They have to be eliminated.
Mm.
So there may not be a second chance. I mean, if you're eliminated from multiplayer, you're eliminated from the game.
Suck.
Yeah. But,
Play the game. It's a game. It
Yeah.
isn't that important. You don't have to cheat.
but I have to have a level 50 character so I can brag to all the other people who barely know me.
Yep.
Get a life.
Says the guys with characters at what level at WoW?
I haven't played WoW in 2 years, 3 years.
Uh-huh. There's a game out there you're playing now.
Not really.
No, not really.
So we're all waiting for City of Titans? Is that what's going on?
City of Titans and Pathfinder Online.
Yeah. Well, Amazon showed off a controller recently, but I got more information that Valve unveiled the redesigned Steam controller. Now, they released the first one not too long ago. It had a group of buttons simulating a D-pad, but the primary move areas were both biometric discs. Places you could slide your thumb across them to get things to move.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, people didn't like that because the report is that they replaced both those biometric discs with control sticks.
Yeah. Yeah, I still remember using the Nintendo... What the hell was that thing called? The Max? Where it had the little slide button instead of a joystick or the control pad. That annoyed the fuck out of me, and I can only assume that it's something similar.
Yeah. They've replaced some of the lower button layout, and the touchscreen in the middle is gone, which is really gratified people. And it looks like the discs have turned from biometric, but you can still need to kind of push and click them a bit. I would still need sticks.
Yeah.
Because I have wide thumbs. My thumbprint can get in my own way.
Yeah.
The last bit of video game news I have was kind of a surprise, and it came out just yesterday. The PlayStation 4 and peripherals are getting a price increase in Canada.
Uh-huh.
As of today, the PlayStation 4 went from $399 Canadian to $449 Canadian.
Wow.
The DualShock 4 controllers went from $59.99 to $64.99. Now, the changes mentioned by Sony are likely directly related to Canada's currency, which seems kind of a bullshit reason. Canada's currency has been almost equal to ours for a long damn time. Now, the country's currency is expected to underperform the U.S. dollar by mid-2014, so I guess that their currency may be worth less for some reason that other people with money see and I don't. But at the same time, why would you do this price increase now when there's not that much of an issue?
Because they're greedy some bitches?
I suppose. I mean, the PS4 is consistently, not virtually, but almost sold out across the U.S. and Canada, so I don't know why you do this now. I don't get it.
I don't know.
Because in Canada, that means that the difference between a PS4 and an Xbox One is now $50. That's not much of a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see how it works out, I guess.
Now, I have an uncomfortable amount of Marvel media news this week.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
We're getting close to the release of the Winter Soldier, so stuff like that is
Yep.
starting to pour like rain.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not the first thing I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that Miles Teller, he's an actor in The Spectacular Now, and he has a role in Divergent and in the Fantastic Four as Reed Richards. He has praise for the Fantastic Four script and the director, a man named Josh Trank. Okay?
Okay.
Now, if it will let me scroll the fuck down, I will get to this. What he said was, quote, "When I read the script, I didn't feel like I was reading this larger-than-life incredible superhero tale. These are all very human people that end up having to become, I guess, what is known as the Fantastic Four. So for me, it's just a really good story, and it gives me an opportunity to play something different from my own skin. It's a proper character, and that's my favorite stuff to do," unquote. He also said he was leaving pretty soon to start filming. That's an interesting group of comments.
Yeah. Sounds like they're kind of grounding them.
Okay. Now, I'm going to back that up with a story that came out as of the 14th, this Friday. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
The update, also on comicbookmovie.com, which is where I got the first story, says that Fox is reportedly dumping the Fantastic Four director, writer, and cast.
What?
Wow.
According to Bleeding Cool, one of their reporters said, quote, "I've learned from a rather well-connected source that, as the title says, Fox has dumped Fantastic Four director Josh Trank and the script by Simon Kinberg and are actively looking for replacements 6 months before they are due to shoot for a 2015 release. Oh, yes, and there are now casting issues from the studio, too," unquote.
This is going to, if this is true,
Yes.
yeah, we're not going to see this movie in 2015. If we do, it's not going to be anything anybody wants to see.
Yeah, and some people have said that Bleeding Cool aren't the kind of site to run a story like this without being pretty certain of their sources. A few people have gone to Twitter and just said that the rumor is not true, and, that with 100% certainty there is no rumor worth listening to. But Bleeding Cool has responded to the denials with the following. Quote, "We remain confident in our source. Bleeding Cool suggests that if Fox would really like to stomp on the rumor, they stop approaching folk to replace a director and start to to write a new screenplay." Unquote. So they apparently have information that the Fox is actively talking to people to replace these guys.
Wow.
This could turn into the biggest clusterfuck in movies. At least in comic book movies. And you almost wonder if they can't make that shooting schedule by 2015. Wouldn't that mean those rights revert?
Yeah.
It's possible. I don't know what time frame they're dealing with.
I think you have to release a movie like every 2 to 4 years to retain the rights.
I think it's a 10-year thing, actually.
So they're running up towards the edge of that time frame. This could be serious because a series delay could actually mean they lose everything on this.
Yeah.
Which would be good news for people looking for a coherent Marvel cinematic universe, but bad news for Fox since they seem to be banking on the idea of a Fantastic Four X-Men crossover in the future. So
07 was the last one, so
yeah.
If my 10-year thing is right, then it's still quite a bit of ways.
Okay. Now, at South by Southwest, which is a big music and cultural phenomenon down in the southwestern states. Actually, it's Texas. I don't think it's Southwest. That's just South. But at South by Southwest, Marvel Comics announced that they're taking a sharp look at some of their biggest events, and they're going to produce a series of documentaries about them. They're going to be called Marvel's Tales to Astonish. And the very first documentary they're doing, the Civil War.
Ooh.
They're going to look at the story that split the superhero community down the middle, with Captain America leading one faction and Iron Man leading the other, regarding superhero registration and whether or not they should be governmentally trained and operated bodies. Apparently, they've already interviewed Stan Lee and Joss Whedon about the storyline. So it's going to be interesting to see how these turn out, and we're going to get probably a glimpse of that during this week's documentary about the Marvel Movieverse that's happening on ABC.
Yeah.
So it's a curiosity and one I look forward to. Now, the word is, when it comes to Captain America, the Winter Soldier, you know how there's often extra scenes that are added to the DVD releases, like mini movies that are about 5 to 8 minutes long?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this one has the Black Widow attached to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Black Widow gets the featurette. Still kind of ironic that she gets all this attention now when she's about to go out for 6 months. Little thing called pregnancy.
Ooh, yeah.
So it's got to be uncomfortable to get all this geared up, and it seems like you're finally going to put a spotlight on the only female crew member of the series, and she ain't going to be there.
Well, that's part of being female, so.
That's part of being female. That's an interesting way to put that.
It's true.
It sounds like you got tits, you're going to have a delay.
It's more like you got a baby.
There's also the idea that something big is going to happen in the Winter Soldier that apparently is going to connect Captain America Winter Soldier directly to the Age of Ultron. And also it says that they have ideas for the Black Widow that's going to make her a central player in a broader world in between these two movies. And they are just working really hard on making a coherent story here.
Yeah.
You see, Samuel L. Jackson, who plays Nick Fury, said that he enjoyed what he considers the something good right from his first reading of the script. Quote, "I realized on reading it, this is more than just a comic book movie. There's intrigue. Young people may be surprised that they have to think about it," unquote.
Oh, I like it already.
Yeah. Holy shit, we have to use our frontal cortexes in a movie? You ask too much of us.
You mean I actually had to turn my brain on when I watch this?
You have to turn it on in the first place.
Yeah, just enough to watch this to see what's happening.
Yeah. I wonder how you... I almost wonder how you see porn in that case.
A few other...
Turn on of a different variety? Well, speaking of which, Sebastian Stan, the man who's playing the Winter Soldier in the movie...
Yep.
He revealed this week that he's going to be busy because his contract with the Marvel movies and Disney, it is a 9-picture deal.
Holy crap.
Holy shit.
So I think it's safe to say that he's probably going to be in Captain America 3. And maybe a few other movies beyond. In what role, I don't know, but there it is. You know, he actually had an interview with Newsarama that says, "Does your deal with Marvel call for more films in the series?" Yes. How many more? I think I have 9. Really? We call that job security. Yeah, it's great job security. And they asked an important question. Did you know going into the first Captain America movie as Bucky that you'd be doing the Winter Soldier in the second? I did, and I didn't. It was a maybe. It led me to prepare myself for this just in case. But I'm not a guy who gets to shoot the movies. When we wrapped, I had no idea if we'd be back. A lot of that has to do with fan response, the public response. But I really did hope that I'd be back to play this character again, unquote. So there you go.
Huh.
The Winter Soldier wasn't a guarantee, but we assumed. And apparently so did he. And also on the Winter Soldier, the directors talk topicality in the future of the franchise. They apparently have an ongoing plan that they're going to get into, and they do have a plan for the third movie already. They're already talking about it, but just in broad strokes. They don't have specifics yet. If they do a Captain America 3, and, you know, no offense to Chris Evans, because he has played Steve Rogers better than I ever thought anyone would do it on a movie.
Mm.
But if they're going to make this a trilogy of movies, I really want the third movie to be the death of Captain America.
Really?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be the actual, like, wouldn't that be the biggest thing you could do in this group of movies? Because the death of Captain America was not the death of the concept of the character, just the death of Steve Rogers.
That's true. It was the passing of the torch.
Right. And then you have Sebastian Stan, who has a 9-movie deal.
I think they could get away with going one more movie before doing it.
Well, that's what I mean. Captain America 3, you do the death of Steve Rogers. You have 2 or 3 movies with, Bucky Cap or Sebastian Stan as Bucky Rogers doing Captain America. And then you can bring in, some actor of the right age to make Steve Rogers back to life. And then you can do jokes about why his face looks different, You can just tell me he regenerated and here's a sonic screwdriver.
That's amusing since my roommate is over watching Doctor Who in the other room.
It's just a thought, but I think the third movie would be great as the death of Captain America. I think it'd be the right timing.
Mm.
Now, how about this for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? You know how the ratings on that one kind of go up and down, and lately they're on a bit of an uptick because the story's picked up finally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've added another character to the movie. Are you guys familiar with Adrian Pastar?
No.
You might be more than you think. He played a character on Heroes. He played Nathan, Peter's brother.
Oh, the politician.
Yeah, the flyer.
Gotcha, yeah.
Okay, he's been cast in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's in an upcoming episode as Colonel Glenn Talbot.
Talbot?
Yes, the man who spent half his military career hunting down the Hulk.
Right.
Yeah.
He even has the buzz cut and the ugly-ass pencil mustache.
Oh man.
You know, so he's a that doesn't mean we're gonna have a Hulk issue here. You know, they're gonna stay far away from that, I'm sure.
Oh, I hope.
But they need someone to stir the pot, and a pencil head like Talbot is a great way to do that.
Mm.
And apparently, when he found out he was going to have the role, Pazdar went to his son to help him figure out what this character was and how to play it. And he said, his son said, quote, "Well, Dad, here's what we got to do. We got to go to Midtown Comics right away, because you know the guy on the second floor with a beard? Yeah. We've got to find him and ask him what he thinks and his questions. He'll help you out," unquote. Sounds like they went to see the comic book guy from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I as well.
Worst Talbot ever.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, there's...
Yeah, actually, I was kind of considering how, because they do tend to tie the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into the upcoming movies and past movies and so forth.
Very
I was wondering, being that it seems like Captain America and his group are going to be fighting S.H.I.E.L.D., how that's going to leave Coulson's team as far as support. If S.H.I.E.L.D. is as messed up at the end of The Winter Soldier as I'm assuming it's going to be, that could give him more free reign.
Well, we discussed that a little bit last week when we said that the new subtext for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is uprising. It looks like during the same time that The Winter Soldier comes out that Coulson and his team are going rogue.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's going to fit in pretty well. But how about this for additional news? The Winter Soldier has an after-credit scene, and it was filmed by Whedon himself.
Oh.
Joss Whedon was the one who's going to do the scene that you see at the end of the credits for The Winter Soldier.
Huh.
And Age of Ultron is starting principal photography soon.
Wow.
So all this is going to come as a barrage. I think that's going to make San Diego one hell of a horse race again to Hall H for that panel.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
No, if principal photography starts soon, that means there could actually be a couple of bits of film by the time San Diego comes.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they'll get quite the same response as having Tom Hiddleston appear and do a scene as Loki, but, it might be.
But you could have Chris Hemsworth come on stage and just rip his shirt off and have the same response. There have been more pics released of the new Flash costume.
Yeah, saw that.
What's his name in the costume? I forget the actor's name. And that's not to say I'm not interested in the Flash TV series. I'm not very good with current actors' names. But the pictures do look better. Some people have complained about the suit being this ruddy color, this almost crimson, instead of the bright red you would think from the comics.
Semantics.
I don't know about semantics. Does anyone remember the 1989 series? That suit looked very comic appropriate, but it was bright like clown red.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. When it comes to bringing the characters to a real life setting, using real life filming, I don't want to see the bright colors because it's too it burns the eyes.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, that's DC Media News, but it was connected to another story because another clip was released of Winter Soldier. Yeah, I mean, you almost feel like you've seen half the movie before you get into theaters, and the worst part is, even after watching all this, I still want to go see the fucking movie.
Mm.
Yeah.
There is no way you're going to keep me out of this one. I may not see it opening weekend, but I'm going to see this in theaters. If for no other reason than because my wife won't let me do anything less right now. Bryan Singer is in talks about character and action about Days of Futures Past. The new X-Men movie coming out, I believe, in June, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming up pretty quick.
Apparently, Chris Claremont, the writer who really brought X-Men to prominence during the 80s, he has a cameo in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They talked to Chris Claremont and Len Wein because they were the two working on the comic book during the Days of Futures Past storyline. And Singer said that the storyline enabled him to, quote, bring the cast together, but he had to figure out a system by which things could occur in two different times that would have a logic to it, unquote. Some people are still bitching over the fact that it's Wolverine being sent into the past instead of Shadowcat as per comics, and he discussed the time aspect. But someone revealed that Shadowcat does have an aspect of this because the secondary mutation of hers written into the movie is that her phasing power is also an assistance on how Wolverine's psyche gets into the past.
Mm.
But when he spoke specifically of the cast, Singer called Quicksilver really fun and a 70s version of an emo outcast. He also said that Blink is really fun, and the movie starts out lighter and more humorous, but it gets darker as it goes along. Gee, that sounds like an X-Men story.
Yep.
But he also called Jennifer Lawrence, as Mystique, meticulous during fight scenes. I'm still on the fence about this because the fact of the matter is that Days of Futures Past, regardless of how the Fantastic Four movie goes in development in the next few weeks, and we'll find that out soon, I'm sure. If Days of Futures Past does not do well, they may not be able to get enough butts in the seats to matter as to what they do about the Fantastic Four film.
Yeah.
So the unfortunate scenario here is that even though they're two different franchises, these are all Fox movies. And if Days of Futures Past is not the hit everyone expects, this may sour the pool for whatever else they have planned for those franchises.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a risk you always run.
Yeah, it's true. It's really one of those cases where this needs to be a really good movie for Fox to continue in this leg of business. If not, you might as well just ask Disney how much.
Yeah.
Also, in the word about Days of Futures Past, all of Halle Berry's scenes except for one, reportedly, may have hit the cutting room floor.
Really?
Well, I was kind of surprised that she even came back to reprise her role because she said that she was not interested.
Yeah, well, according to a source, and they don't name them, on comicbookmovie.com, they said that Barry, who plays Storm, was cut out of every scene but one in post-production. This may have been another scenario where they just had too many people on the screen and they decided to cut it down. Maybe they've actually learned their lesson from The Last Stand. But this could also be just a matter of something similar to Terrence Howard. I mean, Halle Berry looks like Storm a lot in these movies, but she's never really hit it with me. She's never hit the character like right on the head.
Yeah.
So there could be other issues here we're not aware of. I'm gonna reserve judgment because obviously there's going to be one hell of a director's cut DVD coming. It's gonna be huge. But still, there's a multitude of reasons why this could have happened. Speaking of Fox and Marvel movies, they released a new promotional picture that has a pretty good picture of the Rhino armor. You guys want to take a look?
Yeah.
My only problem is, in looking at this, I'm actually less excited about the Rhino now. Now, I mean, a lot of the body looks pretty interesting, but when you do a movie and you have such a visual storytelling device like comic books, the head and facial expressions on these characters is very important. The fact that it's power armor doesn't bother me. The fact that the head looks like some kind of Pokemon reject does kind of bother me.
Looks like he could showcase in the new upcoming Godzilla movie.
It looks like he might be a part of Michael Bay's new Turtles movie.
Oh, God.
But the thing that really gets me is that when I look at this, I didn't think Rhino. I looked at it and said, did Sauron steal one of Tony Stark's armors?
Yeah, I could definitely see that reaction. It kind of reminded me more of a Stegosaurus.
Yeah.
Because of the things on the back there.
Now, I mean, there could be a story here I'm not getting. Maybe there's something about the way the head is turned that I can't see from this picture. It is a still, after all. But it doesn't make me as excited about the Rhino. It makes me think that, boy, Jamie Foxx has everything on his shoulders.
Yeah. I'm also kind of curious about the red star on it. I don't remember Rhino being like...
Now, the Rhino character from comics is Slavic.
Okay.
But, the character from the movie apparently is a trucker who gets his hand on some kind of battle suit. So there's a story in between I think is going to be filled in. However, there is also word that the final trailer for Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is due out May 1st, is coming.
Uh-huh.
So, Captain America, beginning of April. Spider-Man, beginning of May. I think mid-June are the X-Men. And then in August is the Guardians of the Galaxy. You two are going to be fucking broke.
Yeah.
How about this? Now, we know that Scarlett Johansson getting pregnant, it derails a few plans they've had. Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's been revealed also on comicbookmovie.com that Kevin Feige has said that a Captain Marvel film has been discussed, quote, a lot.
Ooh.
He likes the idea. Kevin Feige said, quote, I like the idea if we're going to do a female lead, do a new one. Do a wholly new character. Do an origin story. And their writer inquired about the possibility of Captain Marvel, and he said, quote, we've talked a lot about Captain Marvel. That would be very cool, unquote. And the writer on the story at comicbookmovie.com said that there's word from a source that an iteration of Captain Marvel will be on screen by 2016. 2016?
Wow.
2016 would either put it at the end of Phase 2, which means Age of Ultron, or somewhere in the beginning of Phase 3, which could mean Black Panther. I don't think that Captain Marvel would fit very well in a Doctor Strange story.
No.
But that also means that if they're actually talking about this, she could actually be part of Phase 3. If you're going to do this, hire Katie Sackhoff now. Don't make me wait. Do not make me frickin' wait. And how about this for more news? Avengers Tower is going to feature in Age of Ultron, but it will debut in Captain America 2.
Nice.
Now, according to Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, again, who's done a lot of jaw-jacking this week, says, quote, you get a quick glimpse. I don't know if you noticed of the new Stark Tower, which is not the Stark Tower, it's the new Avengers Tower. We show it in there. It goes by, and he snaps real fast during, spoiler, sequence. But it's in there. Unquote. So apparently, between the first Avengers film and Winter Soldier, sounds like Tony Stark has finished those renovations he was playing towards the end of the movie.
Yep, didn't even have to fix the sign.
Yeah, how exactly do you give the Hulk a room?
You give Banner a room. You're not rooming for the
No,
Hulk.
you need a room for both of them. You need a room for Banner so he can sit down, think, and do science. And you need a room for the Hulk that is full of kittens. Just chock full of kittens. Last bit of Marvel media news I have is that X-Men Apocalypse, the proposed movie that has Apocalypse as the villain, the director Bryan Singer says that this movie will have the most mass destruction of the franchise.
I could definitely see that.
Quote,
Yeah.
quote, we're going to deal with the notion of ancient mutants, the fact that they were born and existed thousands of years ago, but it'll be a contemporary movie. Well, it'll take place in the 80s. The 80s is a period now. It's hard for me to believe that. Apocalypse will have more of the mass destruction that X-Men films to date have not relied upon. There's definitely now a character and story that will allow room for that kind of spectacle. Unquote. As far as the process, Singer says, quote, we're currently breaking the story. We're almost ready to go. Dan Harris, Michael Dougherty, and Simon Kinberg are in the office across the street from me working on story stuff right now. It's great to have Dan and Michael back. Unquote. They're apparently going to introduce familiar characters in a younger time. He says he calls these movies in-betweenquels. Yeah, in-betweenquels. It's a mindfuck in terms of back up. It's a mindfuck sometimes in terms of where things fall in the timeline.
Yeah, that sounds like a X-Men book.
If these are going to be in-betweenquels up, I wonder if this means that according to Fox's Movieverse, this is where Jean Grey and Cyclops and Iceman first actually joined up with Xavier's crew. I'm still of the mind that I appreciate the fact that they're using the older cast from the prior movies, but starting from First Class, you had an incredible opportunity to rewrite a lot of bullshit that came out during those first three films.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they missed the boat. Because they could have retold a lot of these stories, and it would have been coherent, it would have been in line, there would have been no The Last Stand. You can rip that right out of continuity, throw it over your shoulder. Don't matter. But unfortunately, I decided to keep all that, which means that people who want to collect these movies have to go back and watch The Last Stand and ask, how the fuck did this happen?
What did I just watch?
Yeah, really. In DC media news, it's been announced that the DC fighter based on the Mortal Kombat system, Injustice, it's getting a new roster edition, and it's one that you kind of expect from a game called Injustice. Darkseid is coming.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
Now, unfortunately, it's not for the game proper. This is coming for the mobile edition. It's a special challenge event to celebrate Darkseid's edition of the game, running from March 6th to the 24th, and gives players a chance to complete in time-sensitive battles to earn a gold character card, whatever the fuck that means.
I have no idea.
Me neither. If they're adding him to the mobile game, it's got to be only a matter of time before he comes to the game proper. I mean, otherwise, what's the point, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
and more pictures of the Flash's full costume, including one where of him kneeling in front of lightning, which I'm sure is supposed to get the point across. The pilot of the series is actually shooting right now. It has hopes and good chances, according to analysts, for a full series pickup. Slow down. Make sure you make it right first. Because, like I've said, I may not be a DC fan, but if you make it entertaining, I'll watch it. Speaking of which, the first pictures of Constantine's lead, Matt Ryan, in the Constantine costume are out. It's him in that trademark pencil-thin ruddy red tie and the ratty trench coat that you see in the comic book so often. It's actually a pretty good likeness of the comic book version of it. I understand people wouldn't like it, but I'd still like to see a continuation of the story that was started in the Constantine movie. I completely understand why people wouldn't like that, either because of story, visuals, or Keanu Reeves. Everyone has their quirks. Mm-hmm. But personally, I thought that movie was solid.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that movie.
It's one of the few times I haven't wanted to throttle Shia LaBeouf. And in further DC media news, the lady that played Tinkerbell in Once Upon a Time on ABC, her name is Rose McIver of New Zealand. She's been cast as the lead for CW's new iZombie TV series based on the DC comic. She's gone from pixie to zombie. I wonder if that means she can eat that annoying bug that keeps annoying Link throughout those games.
Hey, listen!
Hey, listen! Hey, listen! Stop eating! Hey, listen! She's eating!
You sound like Mickey Mouse.
Well, his pockets are in there somewhere. And the last bit of DC media news I have is that Jeremy Irons talks Alfred in the new Batman-Superman movie. It's a very brief interview, and Irons was on an audio interview on Absolute Radio. And he revealed in an earlier version of the script that he saw, but he believes a final version is still being drafted. He also talks about working opposite Ben Affleck as Batman and Bruce Wayne, and he responds to the question of how Alfred will be different than previous on-screen Alfreds. So we'll add a link to that so you can listen at your leisure.
How do you feel about acting opposite Ben Affleck? Obviously, there's been lots of controversy about his casting.
I think it's a wonderful idea. He's a lovely man, very interesting actor. I think it's... I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting to know him. I've only met him once.
I enjoy Jeremy Irons. I always think he's one of the smartest actors ever. Although occasionally he does go crazy and he really chews up the screen. He does. I've seen him in a few movies where I just wonder what went wrong. There were oh God, remember that god-awful Three Musketeers movie he did with Charlie Sheen and Oliver Pratt?
You know what? I liked that movie though.
My wife likes it too, and I just look at it going, I love cheese, but there's only so much cheese I can take before I have lactose intolerance.
I don't know. I like the corsets.
You just want to see boobs up high.
I'm a guy.
We have general media news, which has comic book news that doesn't fall into the categories of Marvel or DC. First off is that the Supernatural spinoff, V's going to hate that she missed this, it gets not only does it get a lead actress, but we have the name of the series. Originally, it was going to be called Supernatural Tribes, as we first reported, but now it says Supernatural Bloodlines. The pilot is going to air as an episode of Supernatural on April 29th. Melissa Roxburgh, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, Melissa Roxburgh, has joined the pilot. Her last appearances were in an episode of Arrow and in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid films. She's going to play a werewolf named Violet in a Romeo and Juliet-style relationship with a character who is a shapeshifter played by Nathaniel Buzalik. Sounds like this is going to get complicated pretty fast.
And I am completely uninterested.
It does sound a little bit too Twilight-esque for my liking.
I wasn't even interested in the original series.
Well, if she could stutter and not mention a line for 5 minutes of solid silence, and she's actually got the part, just nailed down the same way Kristen Stewart did it. How about this? I found a new Indiegogo for a web series based on Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
They want to do a pilot called Light of Hope. It's a non-profit called Robot Underdog that's trying to do it. It has 17 days left in the Indiegogo, and it has $3,013. The story actually revolves around the era where Android 17 and 18 came into the story. I took a look at the pilot. It's not bad. I can see where the money could be used to improve a few things. They didn't show a single scene that involved Goku through there, and sometimes I think about that, and I think that's really a bright idea when it comes to a trailer like this. Because you're never going to satisfy all the Goku fans. There's going to be people that don't think he was powerful enough, people that don't think he was loud enough, people that don't think he's Asian enough. That was part of the comments on the Indiegogo. Finally, I'm going to see a web series where Goku's an Asian man. The fuck, man, really? That's the important part of this?
I don't know. I'm still unconvinced with their casting for the Dragon Ball movie. That as much as I like Chow Yun-Fat, I did not feel that he was a good choice for Master Roshi.
You know, I've seen a couple of his scenes, and I don't think he felt he was a good choice for Master Roshi, judging by the way he was playing it. I think he phoned that one in. He just said, "Okay, I'm earning a paycheck. Let's ham it up. You know, let's go."
I am Muten Roshi, the Invincible.
My grandfather is dead.
But I digress. Oh, guys, remember how we said that the SEC was instituting rules for crowdfunding to become tradable companies on the stock exchanges?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kickstarter said in a recent interview, and it was at the South by Southwest Festival, the founder and CEO, Yancey Strickler, pledged that he would never sell his site.
Huh.
He never plans on making it a Google or Microsoft subsidiary. He doesn't want much to do with Apple. He says that Kickstarter has been profitable since 2010, and despite recent huge paydays for founders of popular startups like Instagram, Nest, and WhatsApp, Strickler doesn't want to sell.
Awesome.
He explained his reasons in the interview. I'll see if I can link that, but it's a Yahoo story, and you can imagine it gets a little difficult from there. This is going to be kind of a big story to certain people, and V, again, is going to be sorry she missed this piece of news. At Louisville Comic-Con, it's possible to buy specialty tickets for $195. For $195, you don't get admission to the show. That's a separate charge. You get to visit two people, have pictures with them, and get autographs. The reason why I say this is going to be important to certain people is that the two people you get to see for these $195 are Matt Smith and Karen Gillian of Doctor Who. You get to stand right next to the 12th Doctor and his most popular companion. God, I can't even remember her name right now. Amy, excuse me. The character name was Amy. You get to stand next to him and have personal pictures with the both of them. It's a dual photo op.
12th Doctor or 11th Doctor?
12th Doctor.
So the new one.
No. A lot of people have told me that because of the way the timeline works out, the War Doctor kind of fits in between 8 and 9. So that kind of shows up David Tennant to the 10th Doctor. Oh, no. Oh, you're right. It's the 11th Doctor. I'm sorry.
I was pretty sure.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I get so frustrated with the fucking timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly fucking all.
Yeah, no, I don't know. And there's even the possibility that there's going to be a 13th Doctor because they may have mucked up his whole regeneration thing. So, you know.
Yeah, from what I understand in the Name of the Doctor special, the fact that he was able to regenerate it all really just fucked the story. So that's probably going to go right out the window. And I don't mean fucked it as in ruined it. I mean fucked it as in kind of took that rule and stretched it so far that it's almost broken.
Yeah.
But yeah, for $195, you get an autograph from each person, and you can stand in, I don't know about a group picture, but at least a picture with each of these people. Which arguably, the way the internet is right now, could be actually worth something. I guess my question is, what haircut is Gillen going to have at this show? Because, no, I'm not saying that to be mean. I mean, last year at Comic-Con, she was bald because of her role as Nebula.
Right.
So I wonder what haircut she's going to have showing up at the show. That's all. I'm not saying that to be dickish. I'm saying that out of honest to God curiosity.
Yeah. Well, she could just go with the wig.
Oh, it doesn't matter. She's fucking hot.
Yeah. True enough.
You know, and not even like that glamour hot. I mean that down home, like girl next door hot that gets my motor just fucking jammed up. Another piece of news that V is probably going to strangle me over is there is a graphic that was put out on the Trek Collective blog on blogpost.com.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody went through the trouble on that blog to put together a timeline of the novels of the Star Trek Litverse.
Huh.
They put together a flowchart to show how the multitude of books, and it looks to be at least 60 here, fit into a coherent timeline.
Thank you for doing my work for me.
Yeah, that's pretty freaking cool, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before I skip on to the other story, I'm going to link you guys directly to the JPEG. You can take a look at this, but this looks, as a guy who doesn't read novelizations of TV,
holy crap.
This looks complicated.
The hell?
I have seen charts less complicated than this when I take an eye exam to show that I need a driver's license.
Kind of reminds me of the triple breeding chart from the online thing.
Yeah, it almost does. I'm always glad there's industrious people who will put all this into very, very succinct ways. But just flipping through this, I mean, looking at the Titan story, it seems to fit into 3 different timelines and in-betweens as to where everything happens. Then it all merges into the crossovers, and then it suddenly splits back off again.
Yeah.
I'm a little put off. But hey, if you enjoy the books, now you know exactly how they fit together.
Mm-hmm.
I really could have used a chart like this when I was reading the Legend of the Five Rings books.
Yeah.
News that made my wife terribly happy, because there's a chance this woman will show up at BentCon this year. Anne Rice has long left her vampire books dormant because she was a born-again Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I guess at some point the whole born-again thing wasn't working out for her, because for the last couple of years she's been mentioning her characters again. And she announced this week that she's continuing the stories of the vampire Lestat.
Yep.
So, I mean, to a certain segment of fans out there, this is really important news. I mean, she's not only picking up a pen, but she's bringing back a character who's kind of been pop culture of one sort for another for about 2 decades now.
Mm-hmm.
So that could not just a moneymaker. That could actually be a good story if she writes it well. Just hope she never makes another movie. And we have a new Game of Thrones trailer to go with the fact that this series restarts at the beginning of April. And in this one, it seems to reveal that nobody is really happy with what's going on in their lives right now. You know, the Mother of Dragons is in the middle of trying to sack a city. Jon Snow is having problems trying to keep the Order of Black together, and the Starks can't seem to win a battle to save their lives. All kinds of bad shit are happening in the world, which is kind of fitting considering we're now as far as the TV shows, they'd be into the 3rd book out of a 7-book series. So shit has to get really bad before it gets better.
Oh, yes. I'm not even reading the series, and I know it's going to get horrible.
Well, there's a man named Dan Harmon who is also at the South by Southwest tour. He apparently has an idea for a Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Okay.
Okay? But this apparently is a different type of movie. Because his plan is to make the movie that stars Seth Rogen, Patton Oswalt, and Will Ferrell.
Oh.
I think by those names you can tell what kind of movie this would be.
Yes.
Yeah, isn't much like the first one they did?
No, the first one they did was very much a made-for-TV movie, but they made that to be serious for some reason. They were trying to make an adventuring movie. It didn't work as a movie so much as some kind of misbegotten offshoot of the Hercules TV series. But if you can get big names behind it, and the 3 they've described are pretty good comedians, I can see this becoming like the Blazing Saddles of fantasy adventure movies, frankly. The movie where nothing quite fits together, but it's all just made to make fun of itself. I would be very much behind that. Because goodness knows that that Her Highness movie that, what's his name, Danny McBride made, that wasn't funny.
Never even watched it.
Don't bother. It's not even good cheese. It is like bad cheese. It is that shit you find stuck to the bottom of your toes when you don't wash it for 2 weeks.
Ew. Okay.
Yeah. New concept art sketches show that the Clone Wars had several series that never actually made it to TV. They actually have concept sketches of several things, like a Wookiee riding some kind of long-legged, looks like hybrid between a monkey and a wolf. Potential new characters that were going to come out, machinery. It looks like they actually had quite a few things that just never made it to the show. So I'll add a link to that. It was on IO9. Carnoon, really? I'm ashamed of myself for that. Cartoon Network has released their schedule for 2014-2015. The reason why this made it into news that's generally about comic books is the fact that there is no sign of Beware the Batman or any other new DC show. It appears that show, the CG Beware the Batman that replaced, what was it, the Green Lantern series?
Mm-hmm.
Tanked so badly, it was canceled mid-season. There's no plans to bring it back.
Wow. No loss.
They just quietly got rid of it. They're still doing Teen Titans Go. That's still on the schedule. They're at, but adding to what they've proposed are a bunch of new shows that actually have, like, very little interest from me. Something called Over the Garden Wall, an animated comedy about two brothers who are trapped in a mysterious world, and it's a 10-part miniseries. Clarence, it's a new show about somebody who's overly optimistic. It's by the guy who wrote such popular shows as Regular Show, Uncle Grandpa, Steven Universe, and We Bare Bears.
Can someone just shoot this man?
Well, I'm sorry, I have that wrong. It's part of a prolific shorts development program at Cartoon Network Studios, which means we have to bomb the whole frickin' building, it seems. We Bare Bears is a comedy about three bear siblings named Grizzly, Panda, and Ice. And the episodes follow their attempts at assimilating to human society, I guess a la that bear that was in the Cleveland show. They have a brand new Tom and Jerry show, a new Be Cool Scooby-Doo, Wabbit, a Looney Tunes production based around Bugs Bunny, a new Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu series, Sonic Boom, a new Sonic the Hedgehog TV series that we talked about, Total Drama Paketu Island.
Pass.
Nunchucks about woodchuck brothers named Dillweed and Fungus who learn Kung Fu, and Bay Raiders, the sequel to the Beyblade TV series. Can I say now, don't give a shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
I second that motion.
There's also 3 new series coming in digital programming. I'm not going to bother going into that. Returning series are Adventures Time, Legend of Tima, Teen Titans Go, Amazing World of Gumball, Mixels, Tenkai Nights, Ben 10 Omniverse, Pokemon the Series XY, Uncle Grandpa, Garage Band, Regular Show, Johnny Test, and Steven Universe. Out of everything I just read in that story, only 2 of those series I want to see, and they're both older series.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guess which 2 I'm talking about?
Yeah. But... yeah,
I don't care, no.
Well, Ben 10 Omniverse is not bad. It could use some tweaking, but it's not bad. The one that actually makes me laugh when I watch it is The Amazing Adventures of Gumball. Or The Amazing World of Gumball, I'm sorry. That show's actually funny. Takes a little getting used to, but it's actually funny.
Yeah, but it just, none of them for me are just, I'm just like, whatever. I can't remember the last time I actually turned on Cartoon Network.
I turn it on nightly, but that's because it turns into Adult Swim.
I can't even really say I care about most of this stuff on Adult Swim.
Oh, it still has Adventure Brothers. I got to keep track.
Yeah, that's true. That starting its next season soon?
Well, they've released a 5th season recently on Blu-ray and DVD, so that leads me to think they're close to something. If I remember correctly, the creators and writers on that series were already contracted through season 7.
Oh.
But the difference is between season 5 and season 4 was an 18-month gap, so we could still be waiting a while since the last season ended the same weekend I went to Comic-Con last year. It was like last July. So we may have a bit to go. Before we get completely derailed, there's a report that they're narrowing the search for the lead in Star Wars 7. It's apparently been narrowed down to a few individuals for an unnamed role. And let me see. I'm trying to see if I can find the names here. According to Variety, Downtown Abbey's Ed Spielers, Attack the Block's John Boyega, and the Masters, Jesse Plemons, are all in line for the role. Theater actors Matthew James Thomas and Ray Fisher have also emerged as leading candidates for the role. Now, it's believed that this role is supposed to be a Jedi apprentice of some sort. The original draft was supposedly going to circle around Han Solo and Princess Leia's children, but J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan's rewrite supposedly puts those characters in supporting roles in favor of new characters. Thank the freaking Matrix! I'm sorry, as much as I love the original characters, the idea that they're working so hard to hire Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher back, that's great. The original report they were going to make him the focus of the movie? Oh, fuck no! I don't need to see guys in their 60s and 70s trying to pretend that they can still place people in their 40s in a space western.
So you don't want to see a repeat of Leia's Indiana Jones, Rambo, Rocky, and whatever.
Leia's Indiana Jones?
Oh, the Crystal Skull, Rocky, whatever, you know, all those stupid remakes those guys did.
I was afraid you were telling me that Carrie Fisher played the role in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I was about to say, she aged horribly. No, that's messed up, dude. Although at a certain age, I don't know if this is about money or nostalgia for Carrie Fisher. I just imagine at some point she's probably looking at this just going, just staple the cinnamon buns to the side of my head and send me out there. I don't care. I do not care. There's also, in general media news, and this is kind of important, Hal Douglas passed away. You guys know who that is?
No.
He is a man who's notorious for trailer voiceovers. He's the one who started that whole in a world where everything is not what it seems.
Yeah, no, I did.
Oh, wow. I thought he was kind of doing his own little independent thing, too.
Well, he passed away last week.
Oh, that sucks.
He was 85.
Wow.
He was a long-lived man. And he was the guy that really, they say, redesigned the way that you do trailers because his voiceovers were very prominent in movies like Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, and Lethal Weapon. He had this weird way of making everything sound very important. And he's the one who I think invented that phrase, in a world, when it comes to trailers. Because it made you sit down and think, okay, we're not in the regular universe, so maybe somebody can shoot a gun 20 times without reloading.
He's a criminal's worst nightmare, a cop who enjoys the danger. He was ready to retire. Now, he's gonna wish he had. But these guys can just stand each other. The bad guys don't stand a chance.
I'm sorry, he wasn't 85, he was 89, and he died due to complications from pancreatic cancer.
Damn.
But he was married to his wife for 43 years, and he's survived by his wife, his daughter, and 2 sons from a previous marriage. He at least had a big family. Now, there's an actor named Lupita Nyong'o. She was a big news because she was nominated for an Academy Award in 12 Years a Slave. She reportedly has met with J.J. Abrams about some kind of mystery role in Star Wars Episode 7. There is no word as to what that could possibly be because obviously it was a meeting and nobody's confirmed that she signed anything. But it's speculative that she could be some kind of descendant to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Which is kind of cool to me. It would be nice to know that he had a child somewhere during the story. But at the same time, she is a very dark African woman, so you can almost hear the nerd rage. The unfortunate nerd rage over this woman who was just asked to do nothing but play a role. And to all of you who are going to nerd rage, I preeminently say fuck you.
Yeah. Shut up.
Yeah. And the last bit of general media news I have is that Keely Hawes has apparently joined the cast of the new Doctor Who season as a villainous banker called Miss Delphox. She's going to be the first major enemy that Peter Capaldi runs into. Stephen Moffat, the showrunner on the series, describes the character as, quote, a powerful out-of-this-world character with a dark secret. Traveling across space and time with the 12th Doctor and his companion... traveling across space and time, the 12th Doctor and his companion, Clara Oswald, will come face-to-face with the mysterious Miss Delphox when they arrive on a strange and puzzling planet. Now, I've watched the series, and it's growing on me the more I watch it. But now that I've read that, can I just say, isn't that how half the episodes of Doctor Who start? You just come across this strange planet where you go, oh, this looks interesting.
Yep, pretty much.
So they've literally told us almost nothing, but they did release a picture of Keely Hawes as an actual release from BBC America, and she does look like something, I guess you could say familiar, but slightly alien. I think it's the haircut and the weird glasses. So you can check that out, and I'm sure a lot of people will be checking that out when the series restarts, this August, I think, right? Fine, never mind.
I'm trying to think, and I just don't know.
Okay. Well, in Marvel comic news, Spider-Man is the Ultimate Spider-Man from the TV series is getting a new kid-friendly Infinite comic series. It's a new digital comic. It's something new that kids can read online and connect to the TV series, obviously. It's one of those cross-promotion items. But it's going to be written by Ultimate Spider-Man animated writer Eugene Sun, so the whole thing is going to be pretty consistent, it sounds like.
Cool.
Can't ask for better than that when you're doing a cross-promotion of this nature. Well, except for sales, obviously. Speaking of sales, Craig Kyle and Chris Yost, they are reuniting, and they're going to be writing the new Amazing X-Men series. They're going to be taking over from Jason Aaron as of June's issue, which is going to be number 8. after a guest issue by Catherine Immonen, the wife of Stuart Immonen. You know, and The Amazing X-Men is the series that's finishing up its first arc right now. I think it's going to hit issue 5 this month, which should be the issue that explains how exactly Nightcrawler is back among the land of the living.
An important point.
Yeah, you know, having the cyborg arm through your chest does usually end any ideas of resurrection. But there he is in heaven fighting demonic pirates. I really don't want to say that again. There was also a preview release of the all-new Ultimates. As you know, the Galactus from the regular universe visited the Ultimate Universe and kind of fucked shit up. Well, in addition to the prominent characters in that universe, like Wolverine and Cyclops and Professor X and Magneto and Doctor Doom and, you know, the Wasp and Giant Man, who are all dead in that universe, you can now add to that list Captain America. Tony Stark has joined the Invisible Woman's new Fantastic Four with a Falcon and some unnamed character. And things in that universe are kind of jumbled up, so a brand new team of Ultimates, you know, their version of Avengers, have gotten together. This one is Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Woman, Cloak and Dagger, and Bombshell and Kitty Pryde. It's an interesting lineup to me simply because that's like the most prominent teen heroes across that universe that are all on the central team of the universe now.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a different group of stories. It's pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah.
Especially since their Spider-Man is not Peter Parker, but Spider-Woman is. You don't remember?
I honestly haven't been paying that much attention.
The Spider-Woman of the Ultimate Universe is kind of an interesting story in that they had a short clone story. It wasn't a saga that lasted 12 issues. It was like 3 or 4, where Peter Parker found out that Dr. Octopus and a corporation started making clones of him to replicate his powers. One of the few successes they had was one where they switched the X and the Y chromosome. So there is a clone running around that has a series of Peter Parker's memories, but is a girl that calls herself Jessica Drew. It's an interesting idea that he has both a mentor and an annoying big sister as the new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
How about this for interesting news? There's a new Savage Hulk ongoing series coming. You know, it's a brand new set of stories. It's going to have some interesting guest stars like Richard Isanove and Frank Cho and Phil Jimenez doing some of the art. And the story is going to feature the X-Men, the Leader, the Abomination, and the Hulkbuster units. It's going to show the heroic side of Bruce Banner and the action and mayhem you want to see in a Hulk book. But the thing that makes this especially timely, considering our story, our discussion this afternoon, the artist on this is Alan Davis. He's the guy who did the first issues of Excalibur.
Huh.
Man is still working.
Right on.
So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. The only image I have, unfortunately, appears to be the cover. But judging by the people in the background, yeah, it looks like the first story they're going to run across is the all-new X-Men. The rest of the characters are in silhouettes, but I see a slim man and a slim woman, somebody it looks like they're sliding across something, a large man who's jumping, and I see a large foot, somebody young with wings, and 2 more characters in the background. Any bets? Any bets?
I don't know.
Okay. And, Wolverine is going through a story soon that may make me pick up a few Wolverine comics because this is a story I would like to read. The storyline is called 3 Months to Die.
Oh.
Wolverine apparently has a story coming where he has 3 months to settle his issues before he's about to die. The first issue will be called 3 Months to Die. The second issue, issue 9, will be called 2 Months to Die, and issue 10 will be 1 month to die. And this apparently ties in with Marvel's plans for a landmark Wolverine number 12, a double-sized issue that will gain national attention for its game-changing story. And let me see, senior editor on the series, Mike Martz, he wouldn't reveal one way or the other what's going on. The Marvel editor-in-chief, Alex Alonso, said that this is, I'm going to say this with quotes, this is not a bullshit title, unquote. And Martz elaborated, quote, "We're not messing around with the title. 3 Months to Die. We are going to fully explore Wolverine's mortality, what that means to him, what that means to the X-Men, what it means to the Marvel Universe. And we're not going to be shy. We're not going to be nervous about what storylines we might decide to pursue here," unquote. Please, 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 please. Now, I mean, Marvel has taken some risks before. I mean, the death of Superman was a very big story, but you could argue they left it out because as soon as they killed Superman, the next story was Return of the Supermen.
Mm.
They obviously made it pretty clear there's going to be a replacement. When Captain America died for Marvel, there was no clear replacement.
True.
They spent a while trying to decide. It seemed like if there was going to be a Captain America, and even when there was, it wasn't Steve Rogers. It was a game changer. So are they doing the same thing with Wolverine? Are they actually going to remove the character from the land of the living for a while? And I say for a while because they're going to put him back. Although it is timely that this series is coming out after Days of Futures Past is done. That means they could conceivably leave the character on the shelf for like 18 months until the next movie.
Hmm.
I'm just throwing that out there. It's all food for thought.
Yeah. True enough.
Okay. In DC Comics news, this week's Superman Wonder Woman comic, it actually did seem to turn a corner because you actually saw Superman profess his love for Wonder Woman. At the same time, they're about to do something that could conceivably kill them. Now, the reason why I say this is interesting is because it was the two of them up against Zod and Faura. Zod and his Kryptonian lieutenant girlfriend.
Okay.
It was a punch-out. I mean, they were bloody and everything, and they came up with a way to stop them that didn't mean they actually had to kill them, but it might have been a death move for somebody, because what they did was Superman used his vision to see an atom, and then he put his hands on Wonder Woman's sword so he could split it. They were causing a small nuclear explosion to try and end the fight, which is just the kind of weird stuff I expect from DC, frankly. But at the same time, the fact that Superman actually told Wonder Woman that he loved her, that's kind of a big step away from the old stories for once.
Yeah.
And let alone, it's kind of interesting because towards the last panels in the comics, and they haven't shown what the outcome of it all was, he told her, "I love you," and she looked back at him and said, "Of course you do."
Not quite as good as I know, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's sarcastic or not, but you got to admit, for a character like Wonder Woman and the writing they're trying to portray, that's a good character moment. That's almost spot on what I would expect.
Mm-hmm.
The only other piece of DC comic news I have is that as of yesterday, you could have listened to J.H. Williams III in San Francisco talk about his Sandman Overture series. He was actually at San Francisco's Cartoon Art Museum to talk about the series that's going on right now, the Sandman prequel. It was during the 25th anniversary of Neil Gaiman's Sandman comic series. That'd be pretty freaking bitchin'.
That would be interesting.
If anyone was out in San Francisco and can tell me how it went, I'd be very curious, because tickets were only $15.
That's really affordable.
Yeah, but like I said, this occurred yesterday. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, I did not hear anything about it.
Yeah. If you did, I would have expected you to go. Now, in general comic news, Capital City Comic-Con. I'm not familiar with them myself, but it occurs in Austin, Texas. They released something that I thought was an interesting ad, and it had an interesting sense of humor to it, but I can see why it pissed people off. Now, I'm sending a link so the others can see it. The ad is a close-up of Power Girl's chest, and in the bottom it says, "Everything is bigger in Austin."
Wow.
Boo, bad.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I looked at it and I said, that's funny. Somebody's going to get mad.
Yep.
And it's just the nature of the beast. I think that was a cute little sense of humor, but at the same time, that's kind of a big argument about what a lot of female comic fans think of male comic book fans these days. So it's a catch-22. I think they had the right spirit, but I do think they effed it up.
Yeah.
So they have taken down the ad because they put this on flyers, and some people didn't want to put these flyers on their counters to hand out. And it's kind of a bad time to do this, considering here we are, it's midway through March, and Capital City Comic-Con occurs July 11th through 13th. I mean, in terms of printing, it wouldn't take much to change it. In terms of a machine that has to be able to talk to a few people to get these changes, it's not good timing.
No.
So it's unfortunate. All I can ask is understand that they seem to understand that they made a mistake. They're changing it. Don't penalize them for it.
They were just trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I have in general comic news is there's a new series coming from Brian Michael Bendis called The United States of Murder Incorporated. It's a crime genre story. It's how the United States might look if instead of falling over the course of the latter half of the 20th century, the American mafia grew more powerful. It's an interesting idea. But it's one of those things that really depends on you being able to step away from the real world for a little bit and looking at things through a different pair of lenses. Some of the artwork is interesting. I mean, the idea that criminals are just getting more and more brazen could be a fun idea. Couldn't be any worse than that frickin' movie Woody Harrelson did. What was that called? It was one of the most disturbing and gory movies I'd ever seen, as well as one of the most boring.
Never watched it, I don't think.
He did that movie with Joan Cusack. No, it wasn't Joan Cusack. Shit.
Still not ringing a bell.
I have to look that up. It was done by Oliver Stone.
Means nothing to me.
You could know the actors in like 20 different comic book movies, but you don't know a few things about general movies.
Sorry, if it's not a movie I watched, it's not a movie I watched.
Natural Born Killers, that was it.
Oh, yeah, no, that was with Uma Thurman, if I remember correctly.
No, it was this small pixie of a woman. I can see her face, but I can't tell you.
Oh yeah, no,
I can't tell you who she was.
Who it was though? Yeah, Uma Thurman was in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, she was in that other piece of stuff that I don't like. Oh, Juliette Lewis, that's who it was.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I watched that movie once when I was a teenager. You think that'd be the prime audience for that, but I was just bored out of my mind. I honestly couldn't tell you half the story. We'll move on to Japan and anime news. And the first one really jumped out at me right after the last show. I wish I could have talked about you guys as soon as I read this. According to a Naruto fan site in Japan that's known for posting spoilers, the site received reportedly a message from the publisher telling them to delete their articles and asking them to shut down their site.
Ooh.
Now, the fan site is called Naruto Channel, with Naruto spoilers in the URL. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It then deleted all plot points and character reveals and declared they were ceasing similar coverage in the future for Naruto and One Piece. Now, this news comes from IT Media. And internet spoilers, apparently, the manga industry thinks is one of the most hurtful things to their sales.
Huh.
Now, sales on manga are on the slide. You know, the popularity it had like just 5-10 years ago is not there.
Right.
They hit a very big saturation point. But the fact that they think that just online spoilers are the big problem, that's not a problem.
I'm just kind of, I mean, they're not posting official spoilers. I mean, this is all stuff that they're basically coming up with on their own, right? I mean, it's not like they've got some inside source somewhere.
Now, well, they didn't elaborate on that. For all I know, it could be just people who read the books and then are posting them as spoilers because they understand that the rest of the world hasn't had a chance to purchase the stories yet. They have translated in other languages. So this could just be, which would be, I don't know if that's the exact issue going on. If it is, it's kind of hypocritical considering that a lot of writers of manga and anime have said that the problem is exporting this stuff to other countries is that people don't buy it, they just pirate it. Well, if that's the case, then why do you care what spoilers they post if we're not buying it?
Because they want us to buy it, and even spoilers is enough to stop us, apparently.
Well, it's just turning into that's our problem, that's our problem, that's our problem.
Well,
maybe it's just general boredom. Maybe it's
the same thing as violent video games lead to stone cold killers and so forth. That's our problem. That's our problem. That's our problem. It's television. It's this. It's that.
Right there. We both know that's true because I've been playing Titanfall for 3 days and my mech is parked outside and ready to go. We both know that.
I know. It's just I was trying to put a red herring out there so they wouldn't.
I know, but I've been playing it for 4 days. You know what that means? I'm ready to put a chain gun through someone's house. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Well, in further anime in Japan news, there was a Miku concert not too long ago.
Okay.
It turns out that March 9th, when you pronounce it in Japanese, comes out as Miku.
Oh, okay.
So they had a special concert called Matsuri da Diva. That's fine and everything. That's a nice bit of advertising. Apparently, there's some complaints from the Vocaloid fans about the concert. You want to know what this was about?
Not really, but okay.
Mad that time during the concert was given over to the seiyuu rather than the virtual idols themselves.
Oh my god.
They they were actually pissed that the people who supplied the voices to these characters took the stage. Now, I have said before that I don't understand Japanese fandom at some points. It gets a little rabid for my taste. But to actually say, hey, you who gives voice to my favorite virtual idol of all time, get out of here. I don't want to hear you. I want to hear your voice coming out of the virtual idol. Now you've taken a turn. Not a good one either. It's not a reasonable one. But they're actually mad that the people who helped create their favorite characters came out to say something.
Yeah. Wow.
To quote a famous philosopher, here's your side.
You know, it gives me a better appreciation that there are people worse than some of the rabid fans we have in America.
Well, you know, I'm one of those weird people because I have no interest in seeing Seiyu. You know, the voice actors appreciate their work. They've created some of the things that entertain me the most from the time I was freaking 10 all the way through to now. But at the same time, I don't go chasing them down. Nor, though, if I ran into them, would I tell them, get out of my way, you're not what I'm interested in. I will at least say hi and be gracious.
Yeah.
And this, to me, is just, you know, it's mash dickishness. You know, it is ass-hattery of a massive scale.
Our days lost sight of reality.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, here's an interesting one. There's a journal of the Japanese Society for Artificial Intelligence. Not a big publication, okay? It sells like 10,000 books a month, if I remember correctly. You know, not a lot of things to be seen if you're not already interested in, you know, artificial intelligence and its progression, right?
Mm.
They produced one of their books, volume 29, which came out in January 2014. Feminists in the country blew their tops because the cover of this is a single drawing of what appears to be a maid plugged into a wall, you know, an android maid.
Okay.
Looking at a book, holding a broom, and they said that this is a setback in feminism, according to them. The single picture of the idea of an android maid pissed them off. Now, that's not the story here, because that's lame, right? Okay, the next volume, volume number 2, came out in March of 2014. The cover is one of the most sideways apologies / screw-offs I've ever seen, because the picture is from the view of the maid looking at a book. You can see her holding in the first cover, and she's looking down at a boy who's trying to understand what she's reading to him. So I think they came up with an interesting idea of deflection. You know, no, this isn't our idea of what we want to have sex with. This is our idea of what's going to help you, you assholes. I thought it was a slick move. I give them complete credit for that. That was ingenious. Also, in general anime news, an image has finally been released of the Sailor Moon remake. Although it's not quite a remake, because the title of it is Sailor Moon and Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon Crystal. The reason why this is important is apparently they're not remaking the TV series. They're following a course that's much closer to the manga, the original manga.
Oh. That means they're all going to die in the end?
Possibly. Tell me animes haven't taken that turn. If you can have an anime about, you know, magical girls being killed off one by one and they're all frickin' 10 years old, tell me you couldn't kill a bunch of teenagers in this series.
No, yeah, no, very, very...
It sounds sick, but it's true. Actually, I should have added this. There's been a little more news about Vocaloid and its central character, Hatsune Miku. You know, one of the few that can probably be recognized worldwide, depending on where you go. J-Rock outfit Bump of Chicken, that's their name, who are famed for their work in Final Fantasy Type 0, One Piece, and Tales of the Abyss, they put out a music video between themselves and Hatsune Miku as the singer. So this band, Bump of Chicken, actually did a music video with the virtual idol Hatsune Miku.
Okay.
It's an interesting idea. Do you guys want to check this out real quick? Because I have not heard this.
Sure.
Okay. Link up. Oh God, we started with
a boy band.
Yeah, we started with music that could fit into the beginning of most Final Fantasy games and half the animes I grew up with in the 90s. Oh my god, they're actually allowing the boys to sing! I didn't expect that! You know what this means? Anybody who sees this in concert is going to try and kill him!
They're tainting their idol.
Well, there's nothing terrible about the song, you know, it's about what I expect from Japanese pop music. It's not bad. Although the vocals that are put down by the synthesizer that creates Miku's voice always put me off. I'm not into produced music, and, you know, there's no way that this voice isn't going to sound very produced. You know, if you're a fan of it, fine, be a fan of it. I don't care. It doesn't quite work for me.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll post a link to that, and I'm sure you'll hear the audio playing underneath our conversation of it, so you can actually say you heard Hatsune Miku play with a bump of chicken. Frame that any way you want. There's another piece of weird Japan news here. The boss of AKB48, his name is Yasushi Akimoto.
Mm-hmm.
He's apparently about to be announced as one of the directors of the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games.
Interesting.
It doesn't make it the best of news because the word is out, or at least there's heavily rumored, that this man, who is connected to AKB48, may also be Yakuza connected.
Ooh.
And he's also been known to be connected to a geriatric ex-prime minister renowned for Olympic feats of incompetence.
Wow.
So this could not go well. I mean, he's going to have to be on the ball and keep his nose clean to make this work. But anime news that fans in my circles have excited is that it was announced just yesterday during the Dengeki Game Festival held in Tokyo on Sunday that the sequel anime to Durarara is coming.
Mm-hmm.
They're releasing a new season of it. Apparently, it's also because the anniversary of the light novels was occurring in I think around the same time they expect to release the series. There's no details. There's no details of when it'll be released, but I know a lot of fans who are very, 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 very happy to hear that news. My wife is going to be one of them. I guess I'll just start this. Use this as a start of nerd interest news. I found the fundraiser for I Want My Nerd HQ and their proposed appearance at Comic-Con 2014. It has 40 days to go. It ends on April 25th. The goal is $1 million to put on the show. It started on March 11th, which was just, 5 days ago?
Yeah.
They already have $141,897.
Nice.
That's a good start. Although they're going to have to keep that momentum going for at least a few days to make sure they pull this off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you may see a couple tweets out there that says hashtag I Want My Nerd HQ. That's what they're referring to.
Gotcha.
Now, going into nerd interest news. Spider Silk may be ready for commercialization. Now, Spider Silk is a very thin material that has an extreme tensile strength. They may be ready to put out a commercial version of it.
And we're one step closer to Spider-Man.
Also one step closer to elves climbing up the walls and killing us in our sleep. But the reason why it's been held up is because it's difficult to produce this stuff in quantities, but recent breakthroughs in synthetics make it possible. That's potentially huge news when it comes to new technologies and uses for it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll just leave that to your imagination because there's not much beyond the story, but the stuff is 5 times stronger than steel and 3 times stronger than Kevlar. Imagine what kind of bulletproof vest we could provide police with now?
Yeah, if we can get enough of it, yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's lighter and stronger. That's what you need. There's also a clothing line out there that's made out of carbon fibers. The use of it is it makes you immune to tasers.
Uh-huh.
You know, you can actually run a taser across it, this carbon fiber lined jacket, and you will shrug it off.
I don't think it carries the current.
No, it doesn't. You'll find strips of iron-on no-sew hem tape and carbon fiber tape so that the resulting jacket still has lots of flexibility. So it acts just like a suit jacket, but it'll keep you safe from tasers. I think I know what Tony Stark is going to wear.
What are you telling me? He's already wearing it.
No, he's wearing a giant armored suit. There's a difference between a bulletproof suit and a giant suit of armor. Let's see. How about this? Mt. Gox, you remember them?
Yeah.
The Magic the Gathering online exchange who was trading in bitcoins before they spectacularly failed by being robbed of 480 million in bitcoins?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's amazing they haven't had more problems. They face, according to records, 150,000 attacks per second.
Wow.
And those are generally just the DDoS attacks. That's a lot of people who are trying to do distributed denial of service. And what distributed denial of service entails, for those of you who may not understand what I'm saying, that's when you can manage to slave either computers or have a server set up so that you are sending multiple inquiries to the website, hopefully enough to crash it. So that means 150,000 of those were approaching the site every second towards the end of its operation.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the online exchange that lost 100,000 of its own bitcoins and 750,000 of users' bitcoins to lose a total of $480 million. That's a big robbery of money they'll never be able to find.
Yep.
Well, alien comet swarms apparently have struck an unknown planet. And when I say unknown, scientists who are using one of our long-distance telescopes spotted a belt of carbon monoxide gas in a disk of debris surrounding a young star 63 light-years from Earth. The star is called Beta Pictoris. The thing is that the comets apparently struck an exoplanet they had never seen before. Because of the comet striking, it got their attention to find the planet. That's one of those weird cosmic coincidences.
Yeah.
Can you imagine sitting there going, never find anything? Wait, what was that? Especially on a planetary scale. That's just kind of unknowingly weird. We also have technology, and we're creating a robotic airship that's meant to cruise the skies of Venus.
Huh.
Now, it's an inflatable aircraft, and for the past years, engineers at Northrop Grumman and Lagarde have been working on this unmanned vehicle called the Venus Atmospheric Maneuverable Platform, or VAMP. It's supposed to stay aloft for long periods, collecting data about Venus and the atmosphere. It looks like we're starting to get all kinds of space programs together.
Yeah.
Staying aloft in the Venus atmosphere shouldn't be too difficult, if I recall, Mike.
Presumably, but there's a lot of there's a lot to be considered out there because that's a planet that's entirely ruled by greenhouse gases and emissions. So there is the chance that they have to make something light so they can stand up to what would be chaotic thermals.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting story. I look forward to seeing more of the finished product. Especially hope to hear about the launch before I die. Geologists have also suspected an entire ocean's worth of water exists deep in the crust. Now, the reason why they think this is because they found a diamond-like grain made of ringwoodite. It's a water-rich mineral that's usually been seen in meteorites. And it suggests that vast volumes of water have been trapped inside the crust for 250 to 400 miles beneath. That sounds interesting and everything, and that's a nice bit of science, but at the same time, I almost hazard to put that out there because you know that the next thing that's going to be heard about is drilling trying to get that water.
Mm-hmm.
And drilling 250 miles beneath the surface? That sounds fucking stupid. That's a recipe for a disaster film. The FDA has approved a headband, this weird thing that looks like something out of 70s sci-fi, that apparently is supposed to treat migraines. It's a wearable electrical stimulator on your forehead that, if it's worn for 20 minutes each day, it can prevent the onset of migraines.
Hey, maybe we should get one for Ryan.
Well, it turns out that 10% of people worldwide suffer migraines. So this could be a really serious thing, but if it can work it out, that'd be great.
Yeah.
One user on IO9 though pointed out that it looks an awful lot like the tiara Luke Cage used to wear on his head when he called himself Power Man.
Oh.
So take that with a grain of salt. There's also a story on IO9 that apparently neuroscientists have discovered that the brain will deliberately forget things to prevent insanity.
I believe it.
You hear about it a lot when people say that they have regressed memories that are just hidden, but hidden to keep trauma from bothering your psyche for the rest of your life. That's already known about, but apparently the brain actively seeks out very bad memories and buries them.
Why isn't mine doing that?
I don't know, but
Not traumatic enough.
they say that this can also explain why people with photographic memories or eidetic memories claim to be living in a kind of hell. You can relive most days of your life through your head instantly. That includes every shitty thing that's ever happened to you.
Mm.
On the bright side, you know which girls you never want to date again.
And you remember exactly why.
Yeah. Okay, this story, this touched me in a special place. And I don't mean Bruce Wayne. There is a Shelby Mustang going up for auction. Okay? It's a 1969 Shelby Mustang GT 500.
Uh-huh.
It's a very, very rare car. Okay, there's only 1,000 of them that have ever been made. All right?
Uh-huh.
This car has only had one owner. And after 40 years, do you know how many miles are on the odometer?
Less than 10?
8,500.
Wow.
Now, the man who owned this thing was named Larry Brown. He was of Center Hall, Pennsylvania, and he passed away on his birthday in the latter part of last year.
Oh, suck.
He left all kinds of things behind, and he had no wife or children, so the entire collection is house, TV, snowblowers, motorbikes. Everything's headed to auction. The Mustang is the star attraction. He purchased the car on May 9th, 1969 for $5,245.97. And he had some warranty work later in 1969, and by 1973, he has just stopped driving the car for some reason. It has 8,531 miles on it. It actually still has the original tires on the goddamn thing.
Holy shit.
Factory steering wheel, original paint, belts, hoses, a 1968 dated coated spark plug wires. Okay?
Yeah, millions.
No, it's coated in dust, so it has... There's people thinking it's barely seen car washes or washes of any kind, which means the paint doesn't have a chance to oxidize. And cars that are in far less than original condition from 1969 Shelbys, do you know what they go for? Over $100,000.
Wow.
There's some people saying that there's some parts of the pictures, car enthusiasts say that the tires appear too new for 8,500 miles. Making them between 1970 and 1971. All I can say is, the fuck does that matter? You have a car that has just about original everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're really that worried about the tires?
Yeah, I mean, if he stopped...
you're going to replace them as soon as you get on the road anyway, because tires that old really don't...
Yeah, and a guy this meticulous, it sounds like he took great care of this car, so it wouldn't surprise me if he replaced the tires with something he wanted a couple years later.
Yeah.
So, screw all... This thing, I could really see this going for the high 6, low 7 figures. Everything on it is in very pristine condition, like it's been in a time capsule. And, the last bit of general nerd interest news I have, well, actually, I'm going to hold on to that for next week because that's more Japan interest stuff, and that's just a story too weird to put in nerd interest. Now, the what the fuck news this week, that news that just makes you wonder what the hell is going on, got kind of varied this week. First off, there was a family who bought beef from a Walmart in Florida.
Bought what?
Beef, steak.
Okay.
They ended up in the hospital. The reason why is because they all got sick from eating the beef at Walmart. But apparently it wasn't because the beef spoiled. It was because the beef, for whatever reason, was coated in LSD. Excuse me while I kiss the sky. Nobody has any idea how it got there. The family has no history of drugs. They have 2 young daughters and a very young baby boy who I'm really hoping didn't eat the beef. But when they all started vomiting and having nausea, they went to the hospital. The Tampa Police Department didn't have any current leads when the story came out, so they're testing the beef at Walmart as well as from the distributor to find out where in the fuck this came from.
Right.
There's got to be a better place to hide your acid. Just gotta be. I don't know if that means there was somebody on the line who was just tripping balls and just decided to drop it, or what happened here, but there's gotta be better ways to go about this. You guys have had to file taxes, right?
Yeah.
It's a frustrating process, right?
Until I started doing it online.
Okay. Have you ever choked out a tax preparer?
Never had one.
Okay, well, this man did. St. Louis, Missouri, where so many stories like this seem to occur. A man named Michael Wright, who was 53, he admitted to assaulting an H&R Block employee. He was upset about his taxes, and he pushed his taxman to the ground and tried to choke him. This man, Mr. Wright, has been arrested on third-degree assault. Now, H&R Block didn't comment on the story, but they're in the news for a second reason, because a disability deal with the Justice Department. The deal is to remedy violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and apparently Mr. Wright was part of that settlement. He didn't get the money he thought he was going to get out of the settlement. Then he went to H&R Block and didn't get the money he thought he was going to get out of his taxes, so he kind of went, woohoo!
Wow.
I mean, I understand that all this is effed up, dude, but oh, fuck no.
Yeah, I don't think it's your accountant's fault.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I may have that wrong. It appears Mr. Wright wasn't part of that story, but there's just a whole bunch that went wrong for his taxes, at least that he estimated, so he thought he was just going to get the money out of the man, literally. That's messed up. Apparently there was someone Gandalf couldn't stop from passing him. And I say that because it was revealed by eagle-eyed people that if you take a look at close-ups of the Iron Throne in the HBO series Game of Thrones, not far behind the king's head is Gandalf's sword. Gandalf's sword is one of the swords in the Iron Throne.
Okay.
Which implies that somebody killed Gandalf and melted it into the throne. Kind of an interesting Easter egg to stick in the middle of that.
I suppose. I'd be more impressed if they had a staff.
Someone tells me that wouldn't fit well into a throne made of swords. Maybe he scratches his ass with it. There was a weather forecast in Baltimore, and Baltimore has been socked in by the polar vortex this winter. It's been kind of rough. However, this is not something I would ever release for people to read. This is the official weather forecast from Wednesday, March 12th. It was sent out at 9:43 a.m. Okay? According to the Weather Service, quote, near term until 6 p.m. this evening. We sometimes say the forecast is something for everyone. I think we can take that literally at the moment. This forecast has almost every possible weather type hazard. In the first 36 hours, strong to severe storms, snow, wind chills, strong winds, unseasonably warm temperatures, unseasonably cold temperatures, potential fire weather concerns, minor coastal flood potential. There is not much left, unquote.
Huh?
The first time I read that, I almost read that as a list of weather-related issues, and then there is not much left. Does that mean the coastline? That's pretty effed up.
Yeah, weather is going wild.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's a case of phrasing. You know, really need to phrase that one a little better. Well, 2014 will be the year that we've been known to take a giant step forward in robotics. Because
In what way?
There's a video out there. Somebody's made a robot that can pole dance.
What?
A robot that can pole dance.
Pole dance. Okay.
Yeah, there's a video and I'll link it. It's yeah.
So it's kind of like that robot that can slap the ass while doing the thing.
I imagine so. Still, it's not something I would own up to. I mean, if you want, no, never mind. I'm just going to send it to you. Here's the video. You can see it for yourself. There is a robot that pole dances. It's kind of disturbing.
It's German?
It's from a German site. It was happening up at the CeBIT convention. There's not a whole lot of motion, but this to me kind of reminds me of like the animatronics from Disney, like if the Abraham Lincoln in their Parade of Presidents actually got towards a stripper's pole. I'm not turned on by this. I'm kind of
disturbed.
Kind of creeped out here.
And they have a robotic DJ. Excellent.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let that go now. Also, what the fuck news? In the season opener of the fourth season of Walking Dead, the youngest member of the cast, the guy who plays Rick's son Carl, found a 112-ounce can of pudding, and he ate it all over the course of one scene. Okay? I don't mean you literally see him shoving it in his mouth, but he obviously ate the can and there was nothing to bring back. That's inspired some asshole named Jamie McDonald to see how fast he can eat that size can of pudding.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a video out there that I am not going to get into because I don't want to see someone eat a can of pudding that's approximately the size of like a tub of bristle blocks.
Candidate for the Darwin Awards?
No, probably not, because I wouldn't say there's anything glorious about this. But I have something better. Hello Kitty has a new line of products.
Oh boy.
But it's not the fact that Hello Kitty has a new line of products. Hello Kitty has a bunch of lines of products, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
What makes this what the fuck of the most fierce variety is we know what Hello Kitty is, right? It is a poster child from Sanrio. It's a Japanese mascot that is just marketed to the hell of young girls, okay? Young girls everywhere into their teens know Hello Kitty. At the age we are, probably their mothers know Hello Kitty, right?
Yeah.
Sure. This line of products has Hello Kitty teamed up with the Playboy. It is Hello Kitty in a bunny outfit with bunny ears doing a wink on all these products, including the cheap tattoos you can stick on your arm, cupcake cases, lighters, phone cases, mini cameras.
Wow.
We as a society are officially going straight to hell.
Yes. Cannot argue that. Cannot deny it anymore.
Yeah. Okay, here's something I got from Gawker, and this is kind of weird to me. There's a picture of a man that was taken from a cell phone. For some reason, he's holding a piece of Swiss cheese above his prick. He's driving around the Mayfair area of Philadelphia, and the reason why he's doing this is because he's asking women to use a slice of cheese to jerk him off. He's an unidentified man that is being caught by police for indecent exposure. I think there's other things you should really arrest this man for. But he's driving up to women in parking lots, exposing himself, and asking to be masturbated with a slice of cheese.
Hey, baby.
Now, first of all, that brings up all kinds of jokes about dick cheese. Just all kinds. Secondly, why Swiss?
It has holes?
That was my first thought. But I don't know if I want the texture of Swiss next to my penis. Couldn't you have chosen something softer, like a nice provolone, or maybe a Limburger?
I don't know.
Maybe they couldn't separate the smell of Limburger from him.
I don't know. If he really wanted something soft, he could have just got Velveeta.
If you wanted something soft, he might as well have just gotten himself an Omaha.
I don't know. That's pretty bad. Yep.
Okay. So, if you're in the Philadelphia area and a 50-year-old man drives up next to you, pulls down his pants, and hands you a piece of American cheddar, run. Just run. Call the cops when you've lost him.
Either that or do the world a favor and get his license plate.
Okay. Now I'm about to make them both of you very uncomfortable.
Oh, excellent.
Because remember the story I read towards the beginning of this year of the most interesting things that they found in...
Oh, God, no. We're not resisting that.
Oh, no.
No, this isn't about that story. I'm just bringing that up because there is a man who went into a hospital in Fuzhou, China. He complained of pain. Rectal pain. They found a coat hanger sticking out of his rear end for some reason.
Okay.
He stuck that coat hanger in there to get whatever was causing the pain out. Okay? So they x-rayed the man. They found the wire. Next to the wire, they found an unbroken bottle. This man claims he has no idea how that bottle got there.
Was he drunk?
I don't know. It doesn't say if he's married or if he lives with anyone, but he claims he has no idea how this bottle ended up in his rectum. So he apparently unwired the coat hanger to try and get it out, which became lodged.
The guy was either a drunk or a high or something out of his goddamn mind.
Well, to get all this out, obviously an operation was involved to extract the bottle and so shut the perforation he caused by the wire. And the funny thing is, there was a gastroenterologist that they asked about this story, named Andre Fedita, who said, "It reminds me of my residency. I once saw a guy with a French's mustard bottle in his colon." So I'm going to just say now that I'm going to skip the hot mustard joke. Which I think I just made.
I think ER Dog just get the most fantastic stories.
Yeah, they do. But the problem is that story I just gave you isn't the most vile thing I came across this week.
Oh, joy.
You know, breakups when you're in the college can be messy. You know, you're almost guaranteed to see this person every day for the next few months if it doesn't work out. Okay? A University of Alabama frat brother, he broke up with his girl. Okay? He took a girl from a sorority. They referred to her as a beta chick. It doesn't say much beyond that. Okay? And then he ditched her to hook up with another girl. Not the best way to go. So the original girl wasn't too happy.
Obviously.
Okay, so she took a shit in his chair and wiped it with his comforter.
Wow.
There is a toilet humor joke in here somewhere.
She apparently shit in his chair and wiped her ass with his comforter. And there is a picture.
I don't want the picture.
I'm not giving you the picture. But I can say, looking at the picture, she needs to change her diet. The funny thing is I found this on Gawker, and the writer of the story says Nietzsche Zimmerman actually said that he doesn't think that her gift is going to come out with any old laundry detergent. I think Bama Bro is going to need some extra strength Roll Tide. That's not bad. Okay, I have a serious what the fuck question for you.
Okay.
Would you pay $40,000 to have cyber sex with somebody?
No.
Hell no.
Somebody did. And it wasn't even a porn star. According to Kink.com, someone in Australia ponied up $40,000 for a 1-hour webcam session with a porn director. Her name is Matrice Madeline. She's a dominatrix by trade, and Madeline hasn't said what kind of virtual action $42,000 will buy you. But she did vow to give him, quote, the best, most high-end cam experience of his life, unquote. For $40,000, buy a better car and get a date. You know, seriously, buy yourself some mid-end, like, long sedan with tinted windows, really impress him, then lure him into the car and go have sex. I mean, Jesus Christ. $42,000 for 1 hour of a director's time? What is she, the Spielberg of porn?
I don't know.
I don't keep track of porn directors.
I mean, this woman has her own feminine domination site called Divine Bitches. You know what? Screw this.
Maybe she just gets some of her most popular girls and directs them. I don't know.
You know what? Screw that. Don't buy a $40,000 car. Buy a $30,000 car because it looks like $40,000 cars. Then buy yourself a $5,000 suit. Then take her out to a $300 meal. You're going to get some. You don't need to spend $42,000 on one pop on something that's going to be gone in an hour unless you're streaming it to everyone else. Then you can probably make your money back. The last bit of what the fuck news I have was... It seriously made me roll over and go, the fuck? Because, and somehow this always comes back to Japan. Japan is taking part in the World Cup in Brazil in 2014. And they have a mascot.
What is it?
I'm trying to figure out the right way to say this, but the mascot makes a very particular noise.
Pika-pee, Pikachu, Pika-pika.
Oh, God, really?
Pika, Pika-pika.
I am not even kidding.
I actually read about this somewhere.
The Japan national football team, the soccer team, made Pocket Monster its official mascot for the 2014 World Cup. And there's a picture of some of the players in their jerseys standing next to somebody in a Pikachu outfit in the same jersey.
That is so awesome.
It is. Honestly, it's not really that bad.
I don't know. When you consider that the owner of this creature and all the cartoons never won an actual league, this could be a problem. So, this I don't know. It seriously just made me sit there and say, the fuck is wrong here? What's happening?
Pika-pika.
God.
It's Japan. Leave it alone.
I just want to know if that means that Stephen Colbert's eagle is going to be the mascot of the U.S. team.
Does that be Stephen Colbert's eagle?
Why not? It's a prominent creature we have. Probably the most recognizable in this country and the world. We don't have anything as iconic as a So water shooting squirrel turtle thing. Oh fuck. So now that I've blown out the the vacuum tubes in my own brain, we're going to move on to what we're supposed to be discussing this week, and that is the Marvel X-Men spinoff from 1989.
88.
88. Thank you. Of Excalibur. When we discussed this idea last week, I kind of described it as the X-Men meet Doctor Who. In rereading the first 5 issues, that turned out to be a pretty apt description.
Mm.
You know, they don't run into what you would consider the typical supervillains. I mean, the first group of enemies they ran into was interdimensional hounds hunting one of their members and a group of thugs who took Alice in Wonderland literally.
Yeah.
You know, they dress up as Tweedledum and the Jack of Hearts and the... I think that was his name. The Executioner and the Queen of Hearts, I should say. So it does start off very odd, let alone there's this machine that's literally called Widget that seems to be teleporting people at random. They established very early on that this is not the usual, supervillain appear, defeat him, put him in jail, he escaped, wash, rinse, repeat.
Right.
This thing started out very strangely.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve, you remember this series when we first started reading it. What do you remember?
Honestly, I remembered the werewolves. I had forgotten about the Alice in Wonderland whole thing there.
Yeah. I think they're called the Wonderland Gang.
They call themselves the Crazies.
The Crazies.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I keep getting them mixed up occasionally with the TechNet. If you remember them, Gatecrasher and the TechNet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, I interrupted. Keep going.
Well, I remembered that bit, but I think the particular storyline that I remember the best out of the Excalibur series was later on when they got stuck traveling through the multiverse.
That was an interesting group of days, and remember they traveled by the interdimensional train they co-opted.
Right. And Kitty had actually gotten separated from them at that point, and was going through her whole weird thing. But yeah, it was a series of strange events from start to finish almost, where they were not dealing with the standard, flavor of the day villain, it was all weird stuff.
Yeah. I do think towards their heyday, probably around the 40s to 50s issues, they had a very eclectic group of characters. But because it's the first 5, we only need to the first 5 issues, we only need to focus on the first 5 characters.
Yeah.
And that's, I would say the only actual A-list character in the beginning of this series was Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
He and Kitty Pryde were both injured as a result of the Fall of the Mutant storyline in the mid-'80s. And Kitty Pryde at that point was probably a B-level.
True.
Maybe edging on C level even, simply because when you're on a team where a man turns to metal and somebody else can read minds and somebody else can steal powers and the crazy little Canadian guy with the claws, you blend into the background very quickly. You know what I mean?
As well as the floor and the wall.
Yeah. So I think she was really just kind of stood in the background, not because it was a bad character, but literally because there were so many other interesting things to put on a panel. So, both she and Nightcrawler were injured. They ended up in England for treatment and eventually got better around the time that everyone thought the X-Men had died. They thought that there were no other teams to contact out there of their particular ilk. And in the course of it all, they ended up running into Rachel Summers, the time-displaced daughter of Cyclops and Jean Grey.
With the Phoenix Power.
Yeah, who was now hosting the Phoenix Force in its entirety. And they ended up getting taken in by Brian Braddock, who's the current superhero of Britain in the 80s, and actually now in comic book, Captain Britain, and his confusing girlfriend.
Who I still haven't gotten her name other than Megan.
That is her name.
That is her name.
Really? No other call sign?
No, not once.
Oh.
Never took on any other call sign until the Excalibur series ended late in the... Actually, I think the last part of that series actually ended in like 2010 or 11. They tried a new Excalibur version that didn't really take with fans. I think it only lasted 24 issues. But as part of sewing up that storyline, Megan had her own story since she wasn't involved in the new Excalibur, where she actually took on a call sign. And I don't recall what it is. I'm sure Steve's going to look that up while we keep going.
Yeah, true.
But Megan is hard to put into words.
Not really.
She's a fairy folk creature,
yeah.
And the way to sum up her powers in a nutshell are a combination of empathy and megamorphing. Now, megamorphing is not some kind of sideways reference to Megamind, and it's not shape-shifting in the classic variety. What it means is when she changes her body, she can obviously produce a multitude of effects depending on what form she takes. If she takes a form to mimic another character in the Marvel Universe, she can copy their powers to a T. She can mimic the Juggernaut's powers to the point where she's almost as hard to stop as he is.
Apparently she took on the name Gloriana.
Thank you. Yeah, she ran across another character of that name, and when that character died, she took on that call sign. But again, that's very late in everything, and that doesn't apply to here.
Apparently it was coined by the demons of hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and it has 2 G's, not just one.
Yeah, she was, I'm trying to think. I think she was banished to hell during some major event that happened not too long ago, and she managed to actually walk herself out. She became the light in the darkness that she always was told she was going to be.
Yeah, I think that as far as a superhero, heroine type person, she got the short end of the stick so many times.
Yeah, for a character that was probably the most powerful on the roster with the exception of Phoenix at her best, she ended up playing damsel in distress a lot.
Not just that, just relationship-wise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, her relationship with Captain Britain only recently kind of solidified into an actual marriage.
Yeah. Quite frankly, I think she should have just obliterated his ass and done better for herself.
Well, the thing is, during the first few issues, it became very clear that she was kind of torn between Captain Britain and Nightcrawler. Talk about two characters who couldn't be more opposite each other.
Yeah, but that was more because Brian Braddock had no time for her, and Nightcrawler was, interested.
Well, he also had a bit of an... He also... Brian Braddock during this period as Captain Britain, one of the Knights of the Multiverse, had a pretty big inferiority complex too.
Yeah, he was also a drinking problem apparently.
Yeah, he did have a huge issue with whiskey in the beginning of the series. I think that was one of the reasons why it was so easy for me to get into it, was because even though at this point I had just started picking up X-Men books on a regular basis, it was an easy point to learn about characters, at least 3 of which I'd never heard of before. The Excalibur series is where I first heard of Rachel Summers. Obviously it was the first time I'd ever heard of Captain Britain or Megan, because at this point I hadn't really read the X-Men series, and I wasn't familiar with Psylocke's connection to the Captain Britain character. So this whole...
apparently Megan is also an elemental megamorph.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, she's diehard fairy folk. That was something else that was only determined late in the Excalibur cycle.
Right.
Now, the art style it's still kind of striking to me because it has that right mix of comic book aesthetic and a lot of whimsy.
Mm-hmm.
You can never tell if characters are supposed to make you laugh or cry. It is a lot like watching Doctor Who. Although it does suffer from one thing that was very prominent all the way through to about the mid-90s, is when characters go through a shit ton of exposition.
Yeah.
Thought bubbles.
Yep.
You remember that period where, in case every reader wasn't caught up, they thought about every single factoid in their head as they're fighting something?
That was prevalent even during the Phoenix saga. That I was rereading that book you got me, and I was just like, oh my god, the thought bubbles.
Yeah, they're everywhere. For me, this was kind of a trip down memory lane. I will let one of you guys talk about it, because I could go on forever.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody step in too quickly.
Well, I kind of have the old school view, so you can let Jesse go, or I can...
Well, I chuckled at a few scenes, and I thought, some of the character drama, I guess, was actually very interesting for me to read, but most of the humor I just really can't get behind. It's not my kind of humor.
Well, it wasn't really written as a very humorous book. There's some jokes in there and everything, but really, I in rereading it, this book it's not a laugher.
No. To To me, it was kind of an exploration of just, the weird stuff that kind of slips up through the cracks. But I mean, due to the fact that it's taking place in Britain, and so it has kind of that little bit of influence to it. It also had a little bit of more British humor.
Definitely British vocabulary. You had to get through a bit.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with that. I think my problem was what you point out as the exposition. Honestly.
Well, that's classic comic books. If you're anything before 1999, that's going to be very prevalent.
Which I guess since I kind of grew up reading, I'm just kind of like, oh, yep, nostalgia. That'll get me through it.
Yeah, and the character designs back in the day, I didn't remember them being as simple as they were.
Yeah, Shadowcat's costume was kind of like, oh, wow.
Well, it's not a bad costume, though. It didn't occur to me how very, very simple the comic books during the 80s had the costume design at. Captain Britain is wearing kind of a bastardized Union Jack on the top half, and the bottom half is just straight white and blue. Megan's wearing a unitard, for crying out loud.
Yeah, an orange one at that.
Yeah, Nightcrawler's using 2 or 3 colors in black, and, Shadowcat's using something that technically you could find in an 80s dance studio.
Yeah, and Phoenix was still stuck in her Hound costume.
Yeah. And that costume would never play in modern comic books. Most of the others you can get away with in one format or another because they're a bunch of, I don't want to say classic, but just they turn into normal expectations out of comic book designs. Phoenix, however, was, I guess you could say this almost, red pleather unitard that had studded spikes down the center and down the arms.
Yep.
It looks like the 80s heading into the 90s, but didn't quite get where it was going.
Honestly, it reminded me like the Ghostbusters film and stuff like that. Just like that weird demonic but cartoony mix of
That's probably a good way to put it. I mean, the first couple issues with the Werewolves, these interdimensional hunters who would actually, I guess you could say, empty out humans' innards in some kind of flash of light and then wear their skins as disguises. They're not very intimidating when you look at them now, but in the day, that as a kid, that was.
I remember that freaking me out.
Yeah. And they even had a couple moments where it was like a TV show. One slash at the other, ruined the skin, and then they start attacking each other, and they're just.
I couldn't take them seriously after that. I really couldn't.
Well, they're still dangerous, but the idea that they put them in the zoo at the end as a punishment was a little cruel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the third issue of the series, things developed a little more now that you have the team, I guess you could say, together for the first time. And well, I don't think they were moving into the lighthouse quite yet, but they had to deal with another problem because some psychotic bitch who ran a mercenary outfit throughout the early part of the series, I don't remember what she was called, Vixen, who was just this bizarre woman who dressed in bad outfits.
Oh, yeah.
Older woman, too. But to create a distraction, what they did was release the Juggernaut, who was in holding in England at the time.
That encounter was rather humorous.
Well, yeah, because at this point you have a half-drunk but pissed-off Captain Britain who hasn't encountered anything like that before. And that was a pretty good slugfest. Let alone he wouldn't accept Phoenix's help, who is just who you want to talk to.
Yeah.
But the fact that Megan matched the Juggernaut's size and power in nary a heartbeat, that's a statement.
Yeah.
What that statement is, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if that means I'm going to beat you up or you're going to wake up 3 years from now.
3 years, you're being generous.
Yeah. But the whole thing was diffused very quickly when Phoenix got involved because the Juggernaut at this point had not picked up his helmet yet.
Yep.
Or he hadn't found it, I should say. So that was done. I did like her introduction because, Shadowcat faces Megan away, gets her out of the way, then Phoenix drops down in front of Marco and just says, "Hi, I'm Phoenix. Guess what I do?"
Yeah, you got that oh shit look on his face.
Yeah.
Well, he knows the Phoenix quite well.
he knows that name.
He's probably sitting there going, "Oh, thank God she's only fucking with my head."
Yeah. And star pitch. No. But you're right, Jesse. At this point in issue 3, they were moving into the lighthouse, which it It's a good idea as a base. It's a very simple concept in comic books, but the writers, I don't remember who wrote this particular arc. Let me see if I can figure that out. The writing was by Chris Claremont himself, long-term X-Men scribe, who did a very good job of showing how cramped a lighthouse could be among 5 people, let alone 5 people who can fly, phase through walls, pick up trucks.
Teleport.
Yeah, you gotta admit, that space would be cramped awfully fast.
Yeah.
And there was some nice emotional moments in this series, but this 3rd issue really did kind of set the stage for how weird their adventures were going to be.
Mm.
Doppelgangers, interdimensional threats, omniverse cracking, right through the lighthouse, basically.
Or the arcade.
Yeah, the next couple issues with Arcade getting involved. And the Crazy Gang. I mean, you can argue when you say that it's Arcade and the Crazy Gang, a bunch of guys dress up like Alice in Wonderland. Pretty easy to guess where that goes.
Mm.
But the series does a pretty good job of keeping its story short in the beginning. The general story arcs only last 1 or 2 pages. Or, not 1 or 2 pages, 1 or 2 issues, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But they end up succinctly, yet they always have those little teasers at the end that tell you that something else could happen very soon. They did an extremely good job of creating not just short stories that anyone could pick up, but a long narrative.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like Claremont had a good idea as to how to keep people engaged, both old and new. It was rather impressive.
Yeah.
And the whole story where the Crazy Gang was swapping bodies with Excalibur, that was sick.
Yeah. Or the fact that, during one of the multiverse ones where you find out that Brian and Betsy Braddock's brother was not actually quite so crazy.
Yeah.
It was just trippy. They had such trippy storylines.
Yeah, and it did involve a little bit of an investment, but I guess the big advantage to Excalibur is that if picking up issue 1, you really don't need to know a lot about the characters to get into it. They do a really good job of explaining them all very quickly.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, too.
They had very good archetypes that they were based on.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just
power.
Go ahead.
The powers and everything else were varied enough that the team could really handle quite a bit.
Yeah. But it wasn't just the capabilities of the team. I mean, like I said, I didn't know most of these characters going in. Nightcrawler was the only one I could recognize just by first view.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you get caught up so quickly as to who these characters are, what they can do, what their driving forces are, what their character weaknesses are.
Mm-hmm.
It was really easy to get swept up in it, and let alone it had interesting cameos by some really notable Marvel characters. I mean, the 5th issue, Lila Cheney shows up.
Yeah.
And people won't recognize that, but that's a prominent character from like the 80s X-Men. Although you gotta admit, though, there's one thing that kind of dragged the series down in rereading it, and that's the idea that when you have a Phoenix on your team, you start wondering, why haven't you fixed this already?
Yeah. She was kind of the be-all, end-all on the team.
Yeah. Although it never quite hit Deus Ex Machina levels like you keep complaining about. She wasn't the fix-all, although you still wonder why she wasn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Deus Ex Machina for me is usually the science techies. I mean, it's a little better explained in her case because, she has all that power.
Yeah.
So then it becomes kind of a chore to kind of figure out reasons why she couldn't just fix it all.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But honestly, the stuff that they ended up dealing with as far as, just the Omniverse and Otherworld and so forth, her power became sort of necessary in a way.
I guess that's true. And the Phoenix, during the course of her involvement in this team, had appearances, disappearances, powers up, powers down. At least it never stayed very consistent, because if they kept it the same way as the character was in the beginning of the series, everything's fucking over. In rereading this, the interesting thing I came across, though, was that it occurs to me I couldn't hand this book to most people.
Yeah,
now, it's easy to get into, like I said, as long as you start reading, but the problem is that a lot of people nowadays will recognize half these characters and say, so, this is an X-Men book. It is so not an X-Men book.
No, it is not. Honestly, when you described it as X-Men meets Doctor Who, that honestly would be a pretty good description, because at least if they're familiar with Doctor Who, they're kind of set for the weird stuff that starts happening, especially considering how much of a videophile Megan was, and the fact that she grew up on television and so forth, and was so naive to actual real life that she grew up on Doctor Who. So that was, I think, kind of genius that they made the story kind of flow that way.
Jesse, what were you saying?
I was going to agree that knowing Doctor Who and whatnot, you better prepared to read this. I'm not a fan of Doctor Who, and the
thing is, there is a segment of people I would hand this to. I mean, it's a small segment, but something like this I would hand over in a heartbeat to somebody that says they're interested in superhero comics, but they're tired of the continuity. Getting dragged into 20 different stories to get into one. Because this is a very good standalone story that you could hand to just about anybody who says, I want to read comics, where should I go?
Yeah. And they did have a very interesting narrative. Sometimes it wandered a bit, but the whole thing with the widget.
Yeah. Well, I mean, rereading the series, issue 2, I didn't realize that a character that showed up back in, or would show up in the mid-30s, that's where he came in.
Yeah.
Came in issue 2. And that was what you would call a simmering pot, because that storyline didn't pay off for years.
Yeah. Not to mention the evolution of Lockheed.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Because that was introduced first.
Yeah, I guess if I had a long-term complaint about the series, is that they did introduce a lot of characters, but there were several of them that never got their time in the sun.
Yeah.
I guess the ones that most specifically falls into would be Cerise and Micromax.
Yeah.
Both of those were introduced, in the mid-40s? No. Probably around the mid-30s. It's around the same time as Kylun came in.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them seemed to figure very prominently, and just about the time they said that they're a part of Excalibur was about the time that one left and the other was arrested.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we haven't seen the Cerise character other than 1 or 2 times since the arrest, even though she was supposed to be working on the Imperial Guard. Makes you wonder.
Yep. Projected light was her power, right?
Yeah, projected solid light. Kind of like Dazzler without the need to drain sound.
I was thinking actually a little more similar to a purple version of the Green Lantern.
Yeah. Was an interesting character, and she had a lot of the same Megan-style character foibles, except she was an alien. She was probably one of the more interesting reads throughout the book, but her stint on it was only, 20 issues?
Yeah, about there.
Yeah.
I really liked her character, too, although they did a good job once she got arrested of turning people off of her.
Oh, God, yeah. It seemed like half the reader base found out she was a criminal and just said, what? Criminals can't be superheroes? Fuck you, Hawkeye. I looked up the Cerise character. It turns out she appeared in Annihilation.
Huh.
She was part of a member. She was a member of a group of female warriors called the Graces that was led by Gamora at the time. Doesn't say she died, though. She appeared once more in the Maximum Security crossover in Excalibur, where Nightcrawler professed that he loved her. By the time, that's when he was becoming a priest.
Yes.
So the character was just, I don't want to say unceremoniously bounced, but definitely wasn't treated very well after a period.
Yeah.
It's really a shame. She was a lot of fun. Costume wasn't the best.
No.
But, okay, I think we've about summed it up. Yeah, I would give this to a bunch of people interested in superhero comics. I just wouldn't give it to anybody who was looking for a great story on the big groups.
Right. Yeah, this was definitely more of a pocket following.
Yeah, especially up through issue 50. It was about issue 50 where they started to rekindle relationships with the other teams, but even after then, they didn't really have a big relationship with any team.
Right. I mean, they had their affiliation with, Nightcrawler and Shadowcat being on the team with the X-Men, and even, Captain Britain, Psylocke is his sister, but that was right after. I mean, they all thought that the X-Men had died because of the whole Siege Perilous thing.
No, they thought they died because of the fall of the mutants.
Oh, is that what it was?
That was the Fall of the Mutant storyline. It did involve the Siege Perilous, but the storyline was the Fall of the Mutants during the Morlock Massacre.
Right.
No, sorry, shit. The Fall of the Mutants was where Nightcrawler and Shadowcat were injured and laid up for an extended period of time. Then subsequently, during the Fall of the Mutants was when they went to the Siege Perilous.
Right.
The Mutant Massacre was the first event. The Fall of Mutants was the second event.
Right.
And during Fall of the Mutants was where they... Oh, that's right. They went through this... That's where Forge turned them into energy. That's what happened.
Okay.
Remember, he was fighting the adversary.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, Forge used this Humanic spell, turned the X-Men into energy, and threw them at the adversary, which defeated them. But then they were reborn through the Siege Perilous.
Okay. Yeah, and that's... Yeah, a whole bunch of weird-ass stuff ended up happening.
Well,
so it was kind of, up the Excalibur's alley. But yeah, they were dealing with their own stuff so often that they didn't have a chance to look around and go, oh, wait.
Well, remember, during this period, after they went through the Siege Perilous, this was when the X-Men, the Outback era of X-Men could not be photographed, if you recall.
Right.
Who was it? Storm, Havoc, Psylocke, Rogue, Colossus, Longshot, Wolverine, and I get the feeling I'm missing another male in there.
Angel?
No. Anyway, yeah, during this period there was an 8-man team of X-Men that could not be photographed or videotaped in any format. That's why they stayed under the radar, because even when people say, we saw the X-Men, everyone just keeps saying, well, the last time anybody saw them, they died on camera, so what proof do you have?
Right.
They wrote it on a piece of paper? Yeah. So they just kind of turned to urban legends. I don't even think the X-Men reconnected with Excalibur until, issue 50, 55, somewhere in there.
Right, and then Excalibur was busy jaunting through the multiverse, so...
Well, no, they'd returned from the multiverse. This was after the whole birth of the Death Phoenix. No, issue 50, if you remember, that was a storyline where somebody tried to steal the Phoenix from Rachel Summers, that wizard.
Oh, right, yeah. What was his name? Start with an N?
I do not remember.
Anyway.
But yeah, after that storyline ended, they came back down to Earth, and all of a sudden the X-Men got in contact with them because that was when the X-Men rejoined the Marvel Universe proper. They teamed back up with the original X-Men who were X-Factor at the time. They were all one giant squad, and then they started reaching out to all the other people they'd left behind in their lives. Dazzler was the 8th member.
Yeah.
Longshot and Dazzler. I can't believe I forgot that. Okay. So, yeah, I would hand this to anybody looking for a new leg in comic books. It's different. It won't work for everybody, but at least it's something that you can honestly say you don't need to know jack shit before you get into it.
Yeah. I mean, if you like a lot of British references and,
if you like
Arthur and that kind of stuff, and
Monty Python and Hill and Benedict Cumberbatch. No, it's a decent read.
Yeah, it is.
Also, I've got some news for you guys. My contact regarding the writers for D&D got back to me and set a definitive date. He's talking to us 2 weeks from today.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
So that is going to occur. In the meantime, I spent a little while thinking about next week, and Excalibur actually got me into an interesting idea. One that doesn't require reading. If you hear that, V. But it's a good idea, I think, because it'll make us put on our thinking caps. How it relates to Excalibur is that often in the newer versions of Doctor Who, like, season 5 and forward, right? One of the reference points they keep putting in there about storylines they can't change is called fixed points in time.
Right.
So it occurs to me, what comic book storylines should and should not be considered fixed points in time? What storylines will actually affect later comics to the point that they shouldn't be removed? What other stories should have a man with a sonic screwdriver change things around and make it for the better? Be a fun what-if scenario, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's all kinds of things we can discuss of this nature on both sides of the aisle. So I think this would be a good discussion point. You'll at least get the juices flowing.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I've also put in emails to the City of Titans people because I think it's about time we found out what stage they may be at and what they can talk about. It has been 4 months since we heard from anybody.
True.
And I think that's about all I have. So we actually have a few people that we're itching to talk to right now. Also, I should mention that I'm getting together with Anthony Bionis and Natalie of Mission Star Podcast for a special episode. I don't know if it'll be a special episode of the Rolling 20s or of the Conover Podcast. But the reason we're doing this is because the head of World Cosplay Wrestling that took place at Anime Los Angeles, they're bringing the show to Fanime, and they want to talk.
Cool.
So I'm having a special show. I didn't want to ask you guys to come in on Friday because I know everybody has certain things to do, and on Friday night you guys tend to game or something and be hard for me to find.
People become available.
Yeah. So if you guys want in on that and you're available, just let me know. I'll add you to it. But it's a special show going on.
Okay, I'll be available.
Okay.
You do realize that we are supposed to technically be gaming this Friday.
Oh yeah. Oh, damn. Okay. Oh well. I guess we're all available to game.
That's the first time I've ever heard Jesse disappointed about. Oh man, I got a game. Correct.
Well, he's the GM too, so that doesn't really make me to be too excited about it.
Well, wait. If Jesse says he's available, that means you're available. All right, I'll let that go. But I'll let that go too. I want to thank you guys for showing up, and I know it's been a little long, but it's been a fun conversation this week. I look forward to talking to you guys again, and I invite you to roll with us again next week when we talk about fixed points in comic book time. Thank you very much. I am Jeremy.
Steve?
Jesse?
Have a great one, people. And I can already think of one point in time I'd like to unfix, and that would be the retcon punch.